good evening. Special bonus live edition. I know Neo's doing one, but he always uses the Death Star thing. It's literally always the Death Star thing. And that, listen, he's not reflecting and truly inspiring the spirit of a collectivist miracle. Truly a collectivist miracle. It's important that we get that right. So we'll talk about it a little bit. We got Brandon Bobbles of Ball Cards. Eric with his hat ready to go. He's ready. He's got it. Amazing. And then Simon 466 card joining us. So first, Simon, since you're not regularly on the podcast episode, first, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm here to celebrate the Festivus season.
That's right. Absolutely. That's important. That's what we want. David, how much money? We're going to ask Eric how much he took. We're going to find out. So like I said, Neo can have, and by the way, quick side story. I've mentioned this before. Neo and I are on the same Discord. So obviously I had to give him a hard time because of course he got his video out as quickly as is humanly possible. As soon as this happens, so Simon, I want to give you the timeline just so we're all on the same page. And then we'll talk about the Beckett thing. On the Discord, we see a ping that someone mentions this. And my first response, and no joke, literally no context, nothing additional, no other confirmation. My response was, why do they, does PSA need a holder that can hold a Buick? That was my question. Like, do they need a gigantic, ridiculously oversized holder? Because I assumed he was kidding. But Simon, no joke. 2 minutes later, I get a call on the phone. The call on the phone is confirmation of the exact thing. And so now I spend the next several minutes, and this is not a word of a lie. 2 minutes, within 2 minutes, I get a phone call. And then I get confirmation, Simon. And then I spend the next several minutes doing this. So that's what I do over the next several minutes after that. So now it's confirmed. All right, fine. Now I'm fairly confident. So I thought initially, okay, but we'll swap. I had my format, Simon. I had my things that we were going to talk about. So anyway, so that's out. So forget that. We'll record it, and then of course, they actually drop the press releases and everything. It's like, never mind. We'll do it live. Never mind.
Makes sense.
So Neo was basically so he did the video, and then he put up the placeholder for the live. Now, if anybody's paying close attention, I set this live for 10 minutes before his live, and then he went live much earlier. Little gamesmanship, Simon. It's all about the gamesmanship.
Indeed.
You gotta have some fun. Anyway, so I knew he was gonna do his live, but I just thought it was funny. So good evening, collectors. Yet another slow news day in the hobby. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Good evening, Dean. Zach. I knew a live was coming. Listen, it had to be done. At this point, Brendan, once we got to that point, it's like, okay, well, if everybody and their brother is going to do a video and a live, well, then there's no point in waiting until tomorrow. Never mind. We'll move on. We'll do it live. Plus, Eric has a Beckett hat. Yes, Simon.
Yeah. Have we not yet praised the content gods yet?
Oh, right in the corner. At all times, it is there. Right there, It says praise the content guy. It is always there. We never forget. Okay. As a matter of fact, Simon, normally this is the podcast episode, and normally in the podcast episode, I use the background and the, kind of the Brett Favre in the corner and everything. I don't know if that's appropriate here. You know what I feel is appropriate? Content Gods Mega Church background.
Yeah. Agreed.
We'll bring it out. 100%. We're bringing it out for this one. Content Gods Mega Church.
Simon, I'll allow you to pass around the offering plate.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
It's due. It's due.
It really is. Mm-hmm. Steven, good evening. Eric, what have you done? Oh, we're going to talk about what Eric has done. And he's done something. Good evening, Jeff. Good evening, Keith. Eric's just mad it wasn't Hellman's who bought them. I know. This is what I'm saying, man.
Gross.
That Turner's LeBron James of grading. Always needs more help. Dr. Becker never teamed up with tough stuff. He would have if he had gotten a chance. Be a hero, die a hero, or live long enough to become the villain. Jimbo would have defensively purchased. It was going to happen. It's going to be amazing.
He still might. You never know.
Eric is now richer than ever. Like button rate going up. This is what I'm saying.
Come on.
See, Eric, this comment is just right up your alley. If there was a pulse, Beckett being taken out back now. Bow to the holy Netacan. That's right. I expected that Eric would be crying about now. No, Eric is covering all sides. Eric has got all angles. We'll discuss that briefly in a minute. Anyway, all right, here's the deal. Let's get into it real quick. I'll do the cover. And by the way, there is an anniversary, Simon. There is a wonderful anniversary that, of course, I am confident Neo did not touch on. I am confident he didn't touch on it because as soon as I thought about it, I'm like, it just seems like, and then I double checked, and actually, as a matter of fact, it was. But let me quickly do this. I know a bunch of you guys probably came from Neo's live or have heard the videos already, but I'll skim through it real quick. All right. Link in the description. There's directly from Collectors. There's a press release. All right. I'll read you the thing, and then I'll play the $1 Million Man cackle one more time, but let me at least read a couple of lines. So, announcement from Santa Ana. So basically, they're saying they're going to looks to elevate the historic collectibles company while maintaining its distinct brand and operations. It says it in bold. It must be true. So that's what it says. Yes. It says Beckett will remain an independent brand of the Collectors family of companies, continuing to operate with its own operations, customer experience. What customer experience? What? And standards around gradings, marketplaces, magazines, and price guides.
They use the word standards.
The cackling's coming after, Eric. Calm down. The cackling's coming after.
Before we go too far,
go ahead.
The one thing that stood out to me right from the get-go, while maintaining its distinct brand and operations, let's not forget.
Yeah.
We were told this before, and it lasted, I don't know, what, 8 months, 10, 12 months, somewhere in there?
Give or take.
And things changed a little bit, but...
Do you think we could get rid of Pete twice? Could we hire Pete to Beckett and then get rid of him a second time?
All I'm saying is we were told this story. We are rewriting the same storybook. And I was a part of that first story. And it was held true for a small period of time. And then things changed. So,
Indeed. So real quick,
it says Beckett will remain an independent brand. So I believe independent brand is the new boutique brand.
I'm looking forward to when it officially becomes a boutique, though. I think we can boutique at this point.
One thing, though, I do not see Ryan Hoge saying that he wants Beckett back to 2017 levels, because they were actually a pretty strong-ass company in 2017. So I don't think he would want them going back that far.
All right, we're gonna have a conversation about that in a moment. We'll get to it. Just hang tight. Let me finish this one. Like I said, it's general press release stuff. Let's finish, and then we will begin with the mockery in short order here. The roast shall commence henceforth. Hang on. So, all right. The acquisition reflects Collector's commitment to strengthening the hobby by supporting trusted brands that serve distinct collector bases. Hold your jokes, hold your applause, hold your laughs. Cackles forthcoming. Hang on. With this addition, Collectors will look to enhance Beckett's offering. Again, what offering? While preserving the ability for hobbyists to choose what's best for every unique item in their collection. So this is a quote here. I am pleased to share that the iconic Beckett is joining the Collectors family. Again, iconic, okay? And will continue to operate its own independent brand within our portfolio, says Nat Turner, CEO of Collectors. The first card I ever submitted for grading was to Beckett, and I consider Collectors custodians of this important icon of the hobby. We'll get back to that in a second. We believe that strong, well-supported brands help grow access to the hobby. Beckett is in good hands with the Collectors team, who are first and foremost hobbyists and fans, says Kevin Isaacson, CEO of Collectivists. We'll get to Collectivists in a moment. We appreciate their commitment to the Beckett brand and their willingness to invest in the people who make it valuable. We look forward to seeing Beckett continue to build on its legacy in the next chapter. Legacy jokes forthcoming. All right, so real quick, before I continue, I do want to quickly state that after all of this, you know what? I can't help myself, Simon. I've got to push the button. It's coming. It's rare that we get two of them in such short order, but it was warranted here. It was deserved. It was appropriate. But part of the reason, Simon, that I felt it was appropriate, today is December 15th, the year of our Lord 2025. Praise the content gods they be. However, I would like to share with you all another anniversary, another date in history. Here's an article from December 18th, 2024. And that was right around the time that Collectivist Holdings, quote unquote, acquires Beckett Media and Collectibles, where they consolidated Dragon Shield, Southern Hobby, and the Beckett brands into the Collective. So Collectivists, for the rest of us, happened almost exactly to the day 1 year ago today. Almost bang on 1 year. That's pretty good, guys. That's pretty damn good. So Collectivists, for the rest of us, was born almost exactly 1 year ago today. And now, the collector's era of Beckett begins, and the jokes shall continue henceforth. I'll go through the comments real quick, and then we'll talk about it. All right. BGS went from the company with an option to an option on a drop-down menu. Oh, to think of such lofty heights. Good evening, Philly Joe. You should have started the stream for the same time as Neo. Listen, I thought about it, but I did want to grab a bite to eat. The man has been staring sideways the entire time. He was ready. I understood. I got it, but I needed a minute. Simon, I needed to at least get a little bit of dinner before I hit play. Like, we need something here. This Neo is quite painful. Hey, it is what it is. I'm thinking it must be plenty of scrap metal in the old Beckett chassis. One would think. We're going to find out. Beckett magazine will celebrate this historic event with 24 consecutive months of Ken Griffey Jr. on the cover. Hey, that might be an improvement. I'd enjoy that. Sounds like SGC. Yes, you see the similarities. True. Damn, my Bowman 2000 Tom Brady rookies graded in BGS slab. Indeed. Sounds like deja vu. Sounds like deja vu. Those are separate comments. See, Bob? I see you. I see what you did there. Those just took the SGC press release 2 years ago. Find replace SGC with Beckett. I hope so. Simon, I secretly hope so. Because there is now that we've had our initial cackle and laugh, there are a few other thoughts that I have. And I want to share them. Good evening to you, sir. So will be force upgrades will still be enforced? For how long? For how long? At what cost? What did you say about Boozle's wife's cankles? We'll leave that there. Amazing they had to buy the publishing stuff as well to make it work. So to be true, so same thing, same vein. So obviously I had the conversation, but then I also got a separate text message. And I will leave the names out to protect the innocent. But all it was, what it came down to, Simon, was a simple question. Thoughts on the BGS sale? And I shall read you my exact response to this. And this was just shy of 2 hours ago. My response: I have a few. First, hilarious. Second, what are those idiots doing? You can decide who represents the idiots in the question. The answer is probably yes. That was my answer. So, real quick, I'm just going to say this. So first of all, yeah, you had to take the rest. You had to take all of it. If you're going to, it's all or nothing. You can't, the grading is really the only thing of any value at this stage. The database, virtually worthless. The marketplace, it's there. It exists. So fine. But no, if you're going to take it, then you take the whole thing or you take none of it. But like I said, that's why I actually gave the collectivist thing. As far as we can tell, it's the Beckett brand and everything associated with the media arm, the whole piece. However, and then we believe it's also going to be the comic rating as well, because that's under Beckett branding. So I believe it's going to be all of that. So I think that's going to be a critical piece. Brandon was talking about that before we hit go live. But quick side point. It makes sense that they would take that, but I do think it's interesting that unless, we'll double check and see if there's anything else to it. I don't think the Dragon Shield or Southern Hobby, which were the two other components of Collectivus, as far as we know, that's not involved in this, because they didn't get Collectivus. They got Beckett. So that's kind of a distinction we need to make here.
That's what I noticed as well.
Yeah, so it's an important distinction. We want to make sure we make that distinction. There is a bit of a difference there. You drank the Kool-Aid. You got to do it with a K. But yes, I hear what you're saying. Could remove the grading if it's only as is integrated. Yeah, you have to keep them together. Otherwise, it's not worth anything. They stuff SGC into a broom closet. What the hell are they stuffing SGC? BGS. I'm hoping they're put in the same broom closet. They'll be like, nope, you're all going in the same locker. That's it. CC, good evening, gents. Eric is now part of the PSC team. He's part of all the teams, man. Good evening, Phil. Grab a popcorn, watch it from a distance. That's right. GMA. See? We're in the GMA. This is how bad it's gotten. As a Blackstone shareholder, I appreciate the free market share increase. There you go, Paul. Double D, Dylan, good evening. Well, good afternoon for your parts. What is the share price of Blackstone right now? Paul will let us know. Yep, they'll pull it to sleep, I guess you see. Hodges, give video like, thank you. 150 or so, 180. Billy market cap. Okay, we'll see. Let's see. PSA will buy KSA. Next move. Ooh, there we have a dream.
Oh, God.
A grading office set up in Canada for the future. Well, not only are they going to have a Canadian office of Beckett, they're going to move Eric to it. It's going to be amazing.
I don't wanna.
Oh, you're going. And you know what? You know where they're going to put it, Simon? Do you know where the new Beckett Canadian Submission Center is going to be placed in? Guelph. And we're only sending Eric. He's the only one who goes there. It's going to be great.
One man shop in Guelph.
Mm-hmm. Eric's going to handle everything. It's going to be incredible.
No one's gonna come in. It's not a real place.
I'll send the Griffin over. He can hang with you. You guys have a great time. It'd be amazing. So that was, like I said, that was my response when I was kind of asked about it. And the reason is that, okay, so let's kind of talk two sides to this. And I want the chat and everybody else to do it. Here's the deal. Let me be really clear about this. I really don't care. The argument for it being like way too much consolidation in the space, the argument for being more of a monopolistic stance, totally true. Like, you're not wrong. You already have a stranglehold in terms of market share. and then you're adding another piece. Beckett, arguably to me, I don't have the nostalgia for Beckett. I don't have it. To me, I tolerated it. I like the magazine, but the grading never did much for me. I really don't like the holders. Never was a big fan of them. I did submit a couple of cards in for grading. They completely screwed up one of my orders. And after that, I was like, Brandon, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm done with you idiots. I'm not even dealing with you again. Because in the Canadian side of things, you used to have to do it through Grosvenor. Grosvenor might still be the one that was doing it, at least up until recently. So that was kind of who you could have shops, but they would be bulk submitting through Grosvenor. And it was a distributor who was doing that. So I don't know if they're still doing that now or if they were recently, whatever. So for me, I really don't give a crap what Beckett goes away at all. But from a marketplace standpoint, I agree that having it consolidated into one space is not great. That's why I put in the thumbnail, Nat Turner holding, holding one more thing in the orb. I actually reused that picture from a previous thing where I had done a similar kind of deal with that. But here's the other piece as well. I actually think from the collector standpoint, if I put the hat on, Eric, where I'm sitting in the collector's room and they're asking if that will help them, consolidate more in the space, you get the graders, you can buy the office stuff. There are certain advantages to it. I don't disagree with that concept. But from an optics standpoint, especially right now, people are already looking at you side eye if you're collectors. This doesn't help. So that entire press release, the Nat Turner quote and all, is worthless. It's completely worthless. Like, no one believes you. Not a single soul. Simon, from a timing standpoint, like, you already look like the Evil Empire and you just Evil Empired some more.
Yeah, it's double Evil Empire. This is the second episode, the second movie.
Yeah, you're just basically pouring it on at this point. Now, what's funny is what I would love to know. This is something we don't have access to necessarily. This is what I want to find out next. I'd be curious what if anything happened with fanatics walking around in the background. Because again, there are advantages. Like if you're collectors, you automatically get more graders, you automatically get more this, you get more that. Again, I question the expertise. I put that in quotation marks, but whatever. But at least you get more bodies that technically can do grading, so that's fine. And you got another office, so they're based out of Texas. So there you go, PSA Texas. They already kind of had an office there anyway, but PSA Texas with grading facility. So fine. There are some advantages there. Again, you look more Evil Empire-y every day. The question was there any basically what I'm asking is, was there any outside pressure making them more inclined to do it now as opposed to just sitting back and letting things happen or develop?
We'll never know. I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah, I don't think we will. But that's why I kind of was curious. I want to know, because for me, there's no other, you don't really have to make the move. You can make the move. The option was there. If they were available and the price was right, the bigger business is going to do what bigger business is going to do. But I'd be curious if there was any other impetus, anything else. If Michael Rubin was kind of kicking around, or if even, I don't think CGC Blackstone actually cares to that degree. They're doing well enough with their non-sport stuff and TCG. Like, they actually grade, if you go check the gem rate in TCG, they're doing very well. But in sports cards, they're really not that competitive.
Yeah, I think it was mostly for the graders. Like, they bought them for the graders just like they did for SGC. We can debate whether or not those graders are worth anything or are good, but it's clearly SGC 2.0.
That's kind of what I'm wondering. That would be kind of my thought. So Dan here is asking, does this mean that Beckett's finally going to introduce the new slab promise in 2022 nationally? Yes, it's going to look like a PSA slab. It's going to have a red label on it. The 9.5 is gone. There's no subgrades. Zach says, someone will have to tell collectors KSA is still in business before they're interested. It's important they know this. Eric will tell them. He knows.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I point and laugh at them every expo.
Oh, I think you don't. I don't think you point and laugh at them when you look at the Bobby Orr card, a prized Bobby Orr card in your collection.
I specifically point and laugh because of that.
Well, stop laughing at Bobby Orr. I thought he was a good player for Boston once. The disrespect, Eric. Disrespect. Paul says, what do I bet Neo about BGS so that he can pay free for my dinner again? You got to find the right number, man. It's important to find the right number. I've really grown to hate BGS slabs and label inserts. Actually, I'm not saying this, Simon, just to be provocative. I genuinely think the Beckett slabs are trash. I hate them. Like, I genuinely hate them.
Well, yeah, the label, the slip keeps on going sideways.
Yeah,
like,
it's trash.
You see a lot of pictures where if it's an autograph card, where the little number, like the little square, is like way off center or way off askew.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, they're junk.
I like the
I
slab
absolutely detest. Was that?
I like the slab itself. I
No.
don't like the way that they look though.
Yeah, I think it's a personal preference thing. It just never worked for me. Like I just could never get it. It didn't work for me. But again, some other people swear by it. I just found them to be blocky, and I just didn't like the label or anything. Like it just didn't work. But they also didn't have the greatest service either. So like there's other things. There's other issues. You have to read the press release with a whisper to replicate PSA's voice in the hobby. Maybe. I like the BGS slabs and the grade and subgrades. I just hated the service experience with them. So yeah. So Noe is kind of the opposite. You like the slabs, but didn't like the service. I didn't like really any of it. The service was worse than the slabs, and I didn't really like the slabs. Collectors hate PSA and human grading inconsistencies. Time to recognize the tech-focused grading options available. There isn't a tech-focused option available. There are people who say they have a tech-focused option available. That's not the same as having one. Brandon has a calculator, and it can give you numbers. It's about as accurate as the tech-based
And sometimes
options.
those numbers, if you turn the calculator upside down, spells boobs.
Brandon, I got to tell you, you seem to have. I think you've got a more attractive offering than the other options on the table. I'm just saying, throwing it out there. Let's see, might be able to get universal grading standard out of it. I doubt it, but we'll give it one hand and crap in the other. I don't think you're going to have it. I don't think it's going to happen. Good evening, John. It's a monopoly in the making, so it would seem. Young Eric Skywalker to lead the rebellion. Young? Compared to death, I suppose.
I am younger than death. That's true.
Yeah, it's like compared to the ancient Roman Empire, you are but a youths.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Blackstone is more likely to sell CGC comics and to buy more. Yeah, they're interested in just making money, man. They're just interested in making money.
Yep.
Yeah, Chicago Blackhawk legend Bobby Orr. You got it, Phil.
No, Phil. You and I are gonna rumble. You keep this up, all right? Next time I come up to the Canadians, you and we're gonna rumble if you don't knock this off. All right.
Listen.
I still haven't forgotten the Marcel Dion stuff. All right. You and I are going to rumble if you don't knock this off.
Listen, Phil used to do some powerlifting back in the day. I think he can carry you over to the garbage can and throw you in. It's happening. Good evening, sports card nonsense. Now that's a sweater. There you go. Are you guys paid to not to mention tag? I can mention it. Tag sucks. There, I mentioned it.
What are we mentioning?
Tag doesn't
They're
say-
terrible.
I have a whole video that you can go watch.
Yeah.
And, try to answer the question.
I'll leave a link. I'll leave a link in there. Old Man Tag was on his channel. It didn't go well.
Tag
I'll also,
doesn't
you know
grade-
what?
I'm
I'll
still
also leave a
waiting
link
for
in
those
the
15,000 cards to be graded.
Yeah. I'll also leave a link in the description to a video done by one of the Pokemans content creators, where he did the crack and recrack and everything with tag. They has 150,000 views. It's actually been around the block a while, for months. And they basically had a PSA 6 that became a tag 10 that was recracked out and became a tag 5. Amongst other inconsistencies, the machine was on the fritz that day. They needed to unplug it and plug it back in.
And they don't grade any sports cards.
And they don't really grade any sports cards, yeah. Even the gem rate data, they basically grade Pokemon. It's basically Pokemon and TCG, mostly Pokemon. A lot of TCG.
I still like the way it looks. I think though everything else is trash, but I do like the way it looks.
It's a great coaster. Cheryl Spreewell here says, is there any chance they did this to distract from the PSA upgrade to 10 scandal? If they did that, there's cheaper ways to do it, man.
Yeah, right.
There's where
Yeah.
Simon, you can still
seriously
light Golden
thinking-
on fire.
Are we seriously thinking they just pulled this out of their ass over the last 24 hours and said, hey, can we buy you? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Simon's idea is probably so here's what I genuinely think, Simon, legitimately. I don't think it's just one thing. I think there's a priority list of things that it gives them. I think the more graders is one of the top things it gives them. I think having another grading facility there gives them something they want. But I think it's actually a checklist of a couple of different things, and it marked off a couple of check boxes. And because it met all the check boxes, that's probably why they did it. Otherwise, they could have just waited, because it's not like Beckett was really doing anything. There was
I
really
think
nothing going on.
One of the significant pieces to this isn't even the grading. I think the autograph authentication is something that's big on it, because outside of JSA, who now has CGC, for most people, they were sending their cards, or in-person autograph cards to either PSA or Beckett. and now Collectors owns both of them. And there's been like talks of there was issues with PSA authentication and stuff like that. So I think, I told you before we even went live, as someone that's seen the whole process with the SGC thing, this to me, even though Beckett wasn't doing the number that SGC was doing when they acquired them, this is a more significant acquisition than the SGC because there's a lot of pieces that are competitive with PSA outside of just sports card grading, which is basically all that SGC offered. So
I think that's fair. So what I was thinking, Simon, kind of since it was brought up already, I thought I would share this. I did it on the Discord, but I do think so. There was one thought I did have that was tag related, other than the elite coaster makers of the world. I did think though, when this news happens, Simon, the first thought, see, following on the wrestler theme of tonight, my first thought genuinely was that somewhere off in the distance, Old Man Tag is there, and he's just thinking this: it should have been me. It should have been me. Damn it.
He'd sell in a heartbeat, I bet.
Oh, he's like, damn
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I would have sold it for a fraction.
Yeah.
And you don't even need the Beckett database that nobody wants, or the marketplace that most people don't know exists.
do we think that they've gotten profitable just from the shows and those big displays and the stupid robot hockey outfits and everything they did early on? Do we think they're still paying for that, or have they finally moved, towards the black at all? Did the custom cards help them get a little bit of profits?
I'm sure the custom cards didn't hurt. I genuinely think they wasted a lot of money initially trying to get buzz that never materialized. I do think that if you notice, they cut back on that. Like they really scaled back a lot. Like they're not out and about
the
doing
expo
all
was
this.
like two guys sitting there bored.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and the thing is, Brandon, and that was part of Slab Sharks. Like, Slab Sharks is technically the tag submission center. So speaking of, synergies and, Slab Sharks HQ is right here, and then tag, submission center in Canada is in the broom closet right beside it. They've got the same kind of setup. They're basically the same. Like they're literally in the same. Their unit numbers beside each other are in the same building, basically. So it's one of those things where they're trying, and look, they got the deal with ComC, and I'm sitting there going like, ComC is also kind of has some questions that people are asking. It's like, Simon, is this an association we want to go? Like, should I be worried about a couple of you?
Well,
Are you all going to get together? Like, this is troubling.
I can't remember the name of it, but we, since we're on the topic of grading, I would assume you guys touched on it Friday night, but let's not forget Upper Deck has their new grading thing too now, where you can grade your EPAC cards through whatever it is.
Oh, the authority
yeah,
thing.
the authority. Yeah, they're going to do grading or some grading key code or something another. So I mean, come on, collectors got to buy Beckett and everybody else. That they got competition out there now. So
What I want, Eric, so badly is I want somehow Billy to wind up in charge of this. They like lured him in with snacks. They're like, hey, Billy, we got a meeting. We've got Cheetos. And he shows up and he goes, hey, Billy, now you're in charge of the authority. Wait, what? I didn't agree to this. What? What is the authority? Oh, no. This is what I want. I want this to be true, Eric, so badly. This would be great for all of us, I think. Hobby Champ says, Bingo Bobbles, I think the autograph authentication service is key here. I think this certainly could care less about Beckett's grading infrastructure. I also think the comic thing might be something valuable too. Because
So
I think in the comics, I think Beckett's thing, I forget the initials that they use.
BBCS.
Yeah, I think though there is some value to that because in the comic space, there's two.
Mm-hmm.
So having control of that means you're one of two. You've automatically been in the driver's seat there. Go ahead, Eric.
And be serious for a millisecond. I'm reaching out to one of the head autograph authenticators at Beckett and asking him what he is being told.
Mhm.
And if that information comes while we're live, I'll let you know. Or when I do finally get that information, I'll definitely share it Friday or whenever I get it. But I have reached out to one of the top, 4 Beckett authenticators to find out what he's being told. So if I get that information, I will report immediately.
Did you tell him that you're in charge of Beckett now? You did the meme. I am
I'm
the
the
captain
captain
now.
I'm the captain now.
That's right. Did you send the meme? If you send the meme, that way he'll know you're serious.
Yeah.
Just saying. Cecil says, along the lines of what Bobbles was saying, there's a chance that Beckett does not follow the fate of SGC. Beckett is a huge, massive historical name in the hobby. SGC was not. So I think there is something to this. So let me go back to what I said a little earlier. I am sincere when I say this, and but I think, Simon, we can touch on this briefly. Look, I'm in the minority here. The Beckett name didn't mean that much to me in the grading side of things. I was a magazine guy. Like, I appreciated the magazine. But I also read some of the other magazines. I also read Tough Stuff. I read Canadian Sports Card Collector. Like, I had a bunch of them. But Beckett obviously was like the name brand in the magazine and the guides kind of thing. So for me, the grading came after the fact. By the time Beckett came out with grading, I think it was 99, I want to say. I had already been in the hobby almost 10 years. So for me, it was like, yeah, I knew of grading, and Beckett was taking their stab at it, and that's fine. And they were there in the early 2000s. So there's an entire generation for them. It was a big thing. It just didn't strike me. And again, it was more difficult for us, kind of in the Canada side of it anyway. That's why I said, like, the way I had to do it was through Grosvenor. Grosvenor was the one they submitted the stuff to. They sent it off to Beckett. It came back to Grosvenor. The Grosvenor gave it back to the dealer in most cases. And that's how we got our stuff graded. So it was a very convoluted process. It was very irritating at the time. So it's not like it was easy to do it in the first place. So I don't know. So I know you collect a little bit more basketball, Simon. And I know there's a ton of high-end cards in Beckett slabs. So there is like so what CC's saying is true. There is still a connection for some folks with that Beckett brand, more so than SGC.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of high-end basketball that are graded in Beckett's labs, especially from like the 2000s and that like LeBron rookie era, because back then Beckett was the name, right? And so there's a bunch of that. And I know we get caught up in the gem rate numbers on a month-to-month basis, and the SGC number before they got bought was multiples of the Beckett number. But that's just quantity. Whereas if you look at quality, I would bet that the Beckett numbers would reflect a higher value than what the SGC numbers would reflect. And I think we saw that with SGC numbers decreasing as soon as they got rid of the bulk option. So
I think one other thing, and Brandon can touch on this, I think one factor is that for many, many, many years, SGC was associated to vintage. They were so strongly associated. The brand was vintage. Beckett had a real strong presence in modern. It's not that they wouldn't grade vintage, obviously, like they had BVG and stuff like that. But in modern, like a lot of those cards that we're talking about, a lot of those 90s Jordans and stuff like there was a lot of big cards for that category in that era that were put into these BGS holders. So they had a very strong, so really, you know, before PSA kind of took over and then started gaining a lead, Beckett was right there. In fact, Beckett was a little bit ahead of them for various times. So they were right there. So they had that marketplace hold. They just weren't holding it as firmly or as strongly. So that's kind of where it's kind of interesting.
Not to sidetrack too far. And to Simon's point, there are a lot of higher end basketball stuff, especially from the early 2000s. Beckett was pretty well known for the thicker, the RPA style cards, because obviously PSA is harsher on them. Mm-hmm. But, and we've joked about this, you know, taking your cards to the back door on Sunday morning or whatever. I personally have traced the path of a 1-of-1 Justin Herbert card that began its journey as a PSA 6. It then wound up in a SGC 8 to then end its lifespan in a BGS 9.5. I won't put out who did it, but it is someone that is well known in the hobby space who has a big bank account that could probably get his way if chosen. So the jokes or the questions, there might be some truth to them allegedly, or it's just really weird coincidence. That's just one card that I know how it patterned, and it went through across all three companies. So will we continue seeing these things? Or will we start seeing a shift in that market? Because I do think these companies, I think, sometimes like to, if they get the opportunity to put something nice or fancy in their holder, they want their name on it. And people will go that way if the grades look a bit more appealing. So
Mhm.
it'll be something interesting to see. Do they hold to that, or do we get some restraint there?
Yeah, I think that's fair. So I'll read a couple of comments here and I'll get caught up, and then I got a question for you, Simon. So Stu Q's here saying Big Bri was discussing Sneep A today. Yes, he was. And under Simon, I was ready on that piece of paper that I crumpled up and threw away. It was right there. I was like, "Oh, Big Bri talked about it finally," and then the jokes could continue. And listen, if I have the opportunity before the end of this broadcast, damn it, I will. I need to. I want to. But this happened. It dropped on us.
He's like a month late. What is he doing? He's usually the
That's a
biggest
great
voice in the room.
That's a great question, and I'm sure no one has ever
It was
really
Christmas shopping. Leave him alone.
about him in the past. It's probably the very first time anyone's ever said, "What is he thinking?" Yeah, wow.
See, the best part is that I listened to it, and the thing is, he even acknowledged that he acknowledged that he was late, but then he also said, he wanted to let everybody talk and then say his piece. And I'm sitting there like, but I listened to what you said. You didn't say anything that I didn't already know. Here's the big revelation. Look, I'll save you all. I'll put a link in the description if you're curious. I'll put a link in the description for you, but I'll save you a little bit of time. Brandon, I'm glad you're sitting down. Probstein
Oh boy.
didn't spend enough money on the website to build it correctly, and realized that it was hopeless to rebuild it and ran away.
Well, hold on. Let's not go too far, and let's be a little bit 3.5% more mature here, because I actually was wondering this. So you brought up the snipe thing, the data breach. Well, I thought that we just recently heard that part of Beckett's issues and the reason they stopped like the bulk submissions and everything else was a hashtag alleged data breach.
The Beckett data leak thing happened as well, but I don't think it had anything to do with the stopping the submission thing. They were claiming they were busy.
Well,
they got
maybe that's why PSA bought them. There was some data there.
Yeah. But the reason I brought this up, I'm just saying, the reason I thought it was amusing to me is I just thought it was hilarious that it's like, Brian, I didn't need to ask Probstein to know the website was shit. I was aware of this. And I estimated, Simon, to be fair, hold on, Eric, to be fair. Big Bri did provide like a ballpark figure for how much he presumably spent on it, which is more than the $150 I guessed. So it's slightly more. I'll grant you that, but clearly not enough to build a robust infrastructure to house an auction website. But Brandon, during the live stream when we talked about it, I posited, based on nothing more than just looking at the website, that yes, you didn't spend enough money to build it correctly. I could guess that. And I also guessed that, but why would he abandon it so quickly? We had that discussion. We literally had that question. We had that discussion. I posited that it tells me that it would have cost way too much money to fix to try to salvage it. It wasn't even a salvage operation. It was a strip it down to its parts and start again from scratch operation, which he probably didn't want to do, which Brian effectively confirmed. So truthfully, Simon, he did confirm what I suspected, but I did already suspect it.
Yes, he is Captain Obvious on that one, I think.
I appreciate him giving a couple of details to fill in some of the blanks, but he did basically yes, we guessed that when it happened. We figured that piece out, but thank you for confirming. Bobbles in a bubble bath. Thanks for the visual. I know it's terrible. Eric is now Dr. Eric adjacent. Ooh,
there you go.
Fancy. PSA autograph authentication is hot garbage. That is true. So says Dan. We'll now turn to rebrand Beckett in his image, baby. The only way to fix this, for me, Eric, to find Emmanuel and have her take us back in time. Yes.
Oh.
All right, fine. Be that way. Mike here says, just happy the owner of Beckett can now post bail at the correctional facility they're residing in. This is a saving grace.
I was wondering when that was going to be brought up. I was going to work it into the conversation at some point. Is how does somebody make a deal from prison to sell their company? It's
So
like, I know you have like conjugal visits. Do you also get like business visits? I mean, how does that work?
Well, Beckett, there's a lot, Eric, there's a lot of screwing in business. So
Yeah, that's true.
is there really, it might count under conjugal visits if you think about it.
Yeah, very well. Yeah.
Think about it.
So I do have a serious, if I could be serious for a moment, I do
By
have
all
a serious
means.
answer. I do have
Go
a
ahead.
serious answer to that question because that's a great question.
Go
So
ahead.
every once in a while, I do Google Greg Lindbergh's name, and so what I've discovered is he owes like $1 or $2 billion that he has to find money to pay them back to, and
Mhm.
part of his like the thing that's preventing him from going to prison right now is that he's agreed to work with the creditors to sell off as many pieces of his companies as possible to pay back the people that he's basically stole money from. And so that's why I've been saying for like a year, like he's going to sell Beckett because he needs to pay back all these like billions of dollars that he owes. So that's how he gets it done, is because the court told him you must pay these people back because you stole all of their money.
Now, I wanted to kind of get around to that. So I kind of got a little sidetracked by Big Bry's Captain Obvious moment, Simon. It distracted me. It was too good. I couldn't help myself. But no, you did have a couple of videos, and I saw you posted on the Instagram as well. Like you had kind of talked out some of the scenarios and the concept of, no, they need to sell it. Now, what's interesting to me, though, is in that same vein, though, obviously, Dan here is correct. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Paul here, good evening. Brian Gray discussed the Trevor Lawrence Gold Kaboom backyard breaks incident today on a podcast. That sounds about right. Timeline wise, that's about right. Wait until he finds out how deeply invested in this backyard breaks was. I look forward to the podcast in a couple of years. It's going to be very exciting. So Dan is saying, though, no one is speculating the Beckett purchase price. It was kind of impossible to do so, though. Like in all reality, kind of playing into your point, though, Simon. My guess is this, though. I don't know how much you like the value we agree is in the grading arm. Like the media arm at this point is mostly dead. Like there's little scraps left over. Like they still produce the guides and such, but like that's very small relative to. And I know for a fact they call people and bother them to try to get them to do the online price guide every five. I used to get calls for that garbage all the time. So they were desperately trying to extract a couple extra bucks out of that. So fine. But if you're not getting a lot of value out of it, you still had Southern Hobby, but with Fanatics' move, I do actually want to talk the Fanatics thing at least a little bit for a couple of minutes, but obviously this is the focus. But obviously the distributors are becoming less relevant in the post Fanatics, overlords world. So Southern Hobby still maybe has a place, but it's less of a place than it would have been before. So that's less of a Dragon Shield and even the Beckett sleeves and stuff, the Beckett Shield stuff was decent. But I don't think you're necessarily making a ton of money on it. Like I've used some of the Beckett Shield stuff, and it was okay. But I don't think you're making a ton of money on that either. How much money are you making on Marketplace? A couple percentage points. Maybe you're making a little money on that. So I just don't know how much value there is in the Beckett thing as a whole, even with the grading included. Like how much can you actually get for it?
I think a lot more people use the autograph authentication than we think. So I think there's some value there as well. So, but I would like if I had the ballpark, I don't know, like 40, 50 million maybe.
Well, considering how much he owes, though, that's like a drop in the bucket, though. Like even if we bump up the number, like I said, we don't know, but I'm just saying, even if we bump up the number, even if we do like close to half of what I charge out for a light button, so that's like 100 million. So even if we do like half that amount, we just talked about billions. that's barely like taking the edge off. We're barely a rounding error here. That's not doing a lot for us here. If you're trying to pay people back and you're trying to take care of it.
It's going to be a long process to pay money back. But I think part of the issue is he's got such a crazy web of companies and umbrella companies and shell companies, and that's actually part of the court finding what the courts found is that because it was so confusing, it was hard to discover that he stole all this money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd genuinely be curious. That's the reason I posed the question, Brandon. I go, if part of the job here is to make the money back so that you can try to take care of some of these issues, but maybe this is, Hobby wise, this is one of the biggest assets you got left. Again, I don't know how much Southern Hobby is worth. I don't know how much Dragon Shield is worth. I don't, you know, it was all rolled into that Collectivus thing. So whatever's left of Collectivus, what value that has, I assume you could sell that off as well. And I'm sure that some people would be interested in something that they're providing. I just don't know if that's doing much for you to take care of your bigger issues. You probably would have to sell off other companies to make this work.
Oh, he's got a bunch of companies.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. Eric might get a pay cut, and maybe that'll take that'll recover some of the money. We'll find out.
Oh,
Sorry, it happens, Eric. At least you get to keep the hat. So remember the last big hobby story where Big Briar waited 3 weeks because he said he had the bombshell info and this said nothing new? Hey, listen, one of my favorite things on this channel was when I got to talk to Big Briar after he did the interview with everybody's favorite, Bill Mastro, where he said, for the first time, we're going to hear the story. And I'm like, yeah, for the first time, except for the time where Probstein talked to him and he told the same story.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it was the first time. And outside of the affidavit when the court case happened and he explained how the T206 migrant thing happened on there too, that's how we actually found out it was trimmed, because he had to tell as part of the court case thing. That was there too. Outside from that, though, it was the first time.
yeah.
It's important. First time.
First time.
I support PSA if they rebrand Beckett to Shill It. We can all get behind that. Simon with serious information. Have you ever watched this show? Question mark.
Well, I saw Louis earlier said something about it's not, there's nothing like watching a good live show. And I was like, do you know of one? Can you direct me to it?
He was probably watching Neo's and then he came over here.
Okay. Because I know he's not talking about this crap. So
Now listen, does Neo have a Beckett hat? I didn't think so.
I don't know. That's true.
Didn't think so. Paul C says, hot take. PSA bought Beckett so they could learn how to make slab labels that don't look like they should be on accounting folders. You're not taking label advice from Beckett. Beckett can't even keep the labels intact. No. No.
Next Halloween, I'm going as a Beckett label. I'm just gonna.
That's the blind leading the blind. That'd be a terrible idea.
Like this,
Yeah, Beckett promised to watch NASCAR weekly for a year. It's the least he can do. Wonder if collectors will look at Beckett and decide they can't be fixed and scrap them like Prostein did with Snipe. See? It's a callback.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. That only owns Jets, baby.
And
boys.
I'm surprised because, listen, I'll give you my 2 cents here real quick. So
Go ahead.
when the rumors started, earlier today, and I started, seeing things and, rumors. I honestly thought that they possibly were going to buy it just to melt it down and take its parts. Okay. Like a lot of companies do. Okay. You buy a company, you take what you want, you melt it down, Beckett's dead. And that's kind of what I thought they were doing. Because why would collectors need the top 3 grading companies who do all the same thing under the same roof, under the same umbrella? And then Nat sends out this thing saying, nope, we're going to keep things going and Beckett's going to be great. And it's the first card I ever got was in a Beckett holder and blah, 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 and all this shit. I still think it's ridiculous to have 3 of the same businesses under the same umbrella. I would melt that company down in a heartbeat. I would absolutely kill the Beckett name for it never to be spoken again. It will be referred to, moving forward to, thou that shall not be named. And I would take the employees that have some talent, that have been in that dumpster fire of a company, move them over to the other companies and continue to build your brands that way. Beckett is not needed. It is not needed. Those people that use it are still going to want to grade cards. They'll just move over to SGC, PSA. You're like, well, what am I? What are we going to do with all these extra cards coming? We already have 1 million. You already have employees. You already have people that know the business.
Let's not forget something, Eric. I think this just popped into my head, and I haven't seen anybody in the chat yet. So PSA does their offers, right? And the new thing is, well, they grade your cards a 9 or 8 or whatever to give you the offer, right? So they can get it at a cheaper price. What if the plan is to grade it a 9, buy it at the offer, ship it to Texas, and get the black label. Because
Yes.
then it makes even more sense because we know the black label, it exceeds the PSA 10. So, but the only way to get there is to actually own the company. So this might be the new
scam.
well, the new process.
Scam.
We're gonna get black labels in these repacks.
Scam. Yeah,
I'm saying.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something. That this is how they're gonna do it, right? Sunday mornings, that place is gonna be hopping. Black labels for everything.
We just need the repack name, Black Label.
Yep. So I really thought, I really, honest to God, thought when the rumors first started happening this afternoon, they were just going to melt the company down and take its good stuff and just ditch the rest and kill this dumpster fire of a company. But nope, they're going to keep going with it, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. But whatever. Good luck to you, Nat. Never met you. Nope, I got no need to ever meet you, but whatever. Maybe we'll run into each other someday. Good luck to you.
I'm going to give Eric some hope here, because keep in mind, when collectors bought SGC, they said the exact same thing. And then 8 months later, then the boutique or whatever, right? So maybe 8 months from now, then they kill it.
I hope so. It just doesn't make any sense for one company to have 3 of the exact same products, basically.
It actually...
Pepsi has all soda, but they have different types of soda. It doesn't make any sense to have 3 things that do, the exact same. It just doesn't. So just kill this goddamn brand. I just want it dead.
As he wears the hat. That's the best part that sells it. Yeah. What I was about to say though is that, so let's touch on one kind of other side point as well. One of the big differentiators, one of the things that it had, trying to hang on there, was that they could still, I think the way Beckett still was operating on it, they basically had, I don't think they had upcharges. I think they basically would allow you to basically submit pretty much to wherever, and you could send in your cards and do. So that was a differentiator. And that was kind of a thing that SGC also had. So to Eric's question, the reason that most companies would do that, and remember when I went back a little earlier where I said the text message, I said first hilarious and second, what are those idiots thinking? And I'm letting you choose who I call the idiots in that text message. And I was very clear about that. If it was me, number one, the optics are terrible because I just said you are now the monopoliest of monopolies. I've literally gone into Instagram, and as I watch the stories and click on it, I've seen plenty of Monopoly Man memes. That's all I'm saying. I've seen plenty of Monopoly Man memes, lots of them. So no problem finding those. And they're just there from people that I follow. So you've got that. And it's like, okay, the thing is, technically, and you could have done this with SGC, but I guess technically you could do this with Beckett. Gio was trying to make his pitch in the Sports Card Nonsense Live, and I don't have to do that. I believe at this point, I don't have any reason to have any confidence or faith that you will do this correctly. See, the thing is, it could be done correctly. There is a way to do this if you choose to do so, where you save money, you use the efficiencies in your favor, and you take advantage of the fact that brand loyalty is a hell of a drug, and some people just refuse to get off. The same people that dreamed and fantasized. Even Gio did it during his live. In his mind, he was trying to sell himself on the idea, well, if they resurrect the Beckett name, they could bring it back to his former glory. I'm like, for the love of all that is holy, the patient, he's had terminal cancer for a decade. Let it die.
That's what I say.
It's suffering.
That's exactly. Shoot it. All right? Old Yeller, bring it out back and shoot it.
But in that live, Gio is basically talking about Simon, what I was saying a little bit earlier. There are the diehard of diehards. There are the ride or dies. If you give them even an inkling of hope, it doesn't matter how, even if it is literally the broom closet guy who has that Beckett slab saying, if you want, you can submit it. If you gave them that differentiator and the hope of a black label, Simon, they will still submit. They'll still send you the damn cards and still give you money. Why? I don't know, but they still will.
Anything's possible.
We've already learned that Beckett has spent years killing its own brand, and they don't completely die off. They just don't. They should have. If they were anybody but Beckett, they would have already died off.
It's a zombie company.
And it was pay your PSA overlord upcharges. Go ahead,
It'll
Simon.
be interesting to see where the you know how there's definitely a group of people out there that are I'm never going to grade with PSA. Where do they go now? Where do they go now? Because I think that's where a lot, or I would say a lot, but some people who graded with Beckett they were I refuse to grade with PSA, and so
That was kind of my so the reason why I said a little earlier, Simon. My thing is, and there's no reason for me to believe they're going to do it because they've demonstrated no ability to do it. That's what you could have made SGC when you acquired them. You could have made that hey, you hate PSA, here's the tux, here's the, you do a flat fee, you do all these things, and we'll focus on the vintage and we'll have all this stuff. It's a differentiator in the marketplace. So you could have turned, while owning Coke, you could have made SGC into Sprite. It's not actually, you own both. But in reality, you're offering two seemingly different offerings, even though technically you're still getting soft drinks. Sprite and Coke are owned by the same parent company, but they still exist in the market. They're on the shelf at the same time because people feel like they're different enough. Oh, I want a Sprite today. Well, great. You're still giving money to the same company. You buy the Coke, you buy the Sprite, it's the same company.
Oh yeah, look at that puke green.
No,
delicious.
it's an old one. That it does suck. Their new labels and their new slabs over the last couple of years are much better. And
I agree.
Your question was, where do they go now? And
I see.
It took me a while to find it because I don't have a lot of stuff slabbed by them, so I had to dig through. But there's your answer. That's what you do now. Okay?
Do they though? History's shown they don't.
No, but I'm trying to answer Simon's question. If you don't want to work with collectors, where do you go now?
KSA.
Nobody goes to KSA. No.
MNT.
No. Wrong again.
Tag.
Do we think that?
Tag.
No.
Settle down.
Tag.
We don't need coasters that badly, Simon.
Do we think
They posted
CGC
it.
had a little bit of knowledge of this, and that is what led them to go ahead and adjust their pricing?
Well, so listen, I believe we'll know if we find out, we get some footage from a CGC meeting, and it looks a little something like this. I'm sorry. I promise that's the last one. I promise that was the last one. I promise. I actually did that for two reasons. Number one, that you set me up beautifully. But number two, Ham here said, hey guys, what happened? You know what happened, Ham? Eric got to the third Guinness. And look what has occurred.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna have a fourth now with all that money I just made.
Unbelievable. Top loaders and binders. So let me ask the question. I'll read through these comments real quick, but let me ask the question then. So we'll pose it. Look, everybody complains and whines and all that stuff. The money says then you should look. I've been very clear about this. I like the CGC holder. For a lot of the stuff, when I was doing stuff with ComC, I've got some wrestling cards, some non-sport and stuff, and I've sent it to CGC, and I'm very happy with the holders. I like them, like personally. I even have some vintage cards and CGC holders. Andy Broom, who is the head grader at CGC, came from Beckett, and he is actually a vintage card guy. He's very well versed in vintage. So it's not like they don't have the capability, but the people just haven't been interested. Like they don't send them the cards. So at a certain point, it's like, well, and for the longest time, up until recently, CGC, if you were part of that members club, it had a very competitive offering. You could get per card super cheap. So it wasn't the cost thing, Simon. Once they fixed the label, the holder looks great with the label, looks completely fine. No issue there. So you fix that. The price was completely competitive. You've got some expertise to do vintage if you want to. You can do non-sport if you want to. The cards look nice in it. So what's the problem? I guess we got to eliminate all the other options. Is that what we're going to do? Just once you eliminate enough options, eventually it becomes like that episode in The Simpsons, where it was the two aliens that took over the two presidents. Yeah. It'll become like that episode of Simpsons, Simon, where you got the two aliens and they discover that it's them instead of the two presidents. And they go, well, it's a two-party system. You got to vote for one of us. And that's where you're going to wind up, because that's basically where you're at for the most part. Like, other companies can exist, but like, Jason Koons has his ISA. He claimed they created tens of thousands of cards. I've never seen an ISA slab in real life. Never seen one.
It's like, well,
you got all these.
Doesn't really exist.
I'll deal with you, Eric, in due time. I'll deal with you. Don't worry.
Yes,
You'll get a heap and help. And I'm gonna find out, Eric, if there is a manufacturer of mayonnaise and Guelph, and you're gonna get it upside the head. You're gonna get all the Guelph you can handle.
I don't want that.
You're gonna get it.
I don't.
All
want
right, so real quick. Rage says, wait until the new sports card edition of Monopoly comes out. PSA Place and Fanatics Boardwalk. I would love that. I think that'd be fun. T06 Kid said, people who complain about PSA are the ones who use them the most. Yes. Eric is more machine than flesh. That's true.
that. I feel that way sometimes.
I'm assuming you're going with RC Cola. I'm assuming you're going with RC Cola because that'd be an awesome callback. I'm hoping that's what you're going with. Patch cards with issues was the better option to send to BGS than PSA. BGS 8.5 or 9 was better than PSA grading. Yes. So they had like a niche there. They had the basketball market for some of those high-end cards. They had that. They had the patches. That was an option. Again, I wasn't a big fan of it, but for patch card, it's 100% true. Like it was a totally viable option. It made a lot of sense. Good evening, Orlando. Collectors probably banking CGC dropping or Pokemon crashes. They're hoping. Yeah. Big ups. Good evening. Went up in Robinhood. And BXA is up 0.2 pre-market. We'll know why. Andy Broom is very good. Yes. You have to vote for one of us. Go ahead. Vote third party. Throw your vote away. Bob Jackson gets my reference. That's right. It's from the Simpsons episode. Resale value is the problem. It is. But that's on the consumer, Orlando. See, this is true. Resale value is true. But whose fault is that, Simon? Like, you can choose. It didn't have to be this way. It feels like a cop-out, but it's not. If you choose to say, I don't value this enough, I don't want to buy it because it's in that holder, well, then you get what you get. And as a seller, you're going to learn your lesson. How many times you got to get burned? Oh, they don't pay this price. I'm losing money on this. If I put it in the other holder, I make more money. Well, what lesson am I teaching them, Eric? What is the lesson that I'm being taught as the seller? Don't put it in that holder. You won't make as much money. Put it in this other holder. It doesn't matter whether it's better or not. It's just what I make more money on. I'm a seller. My goal is to make more money.
If CGC,
you're muted, Simon.
If they can stick to what they were advertising earlier last week, when they said that they're going to have faster turnaround times and all of that, that will help them. Believe it or not, I still stand firm that SGC's biggest reason that people came to them and they grew so quickly was the pricing and the turnaround time, because especially on new product, if you can get the stuff in the slab and to market first, then you're gaining an advantage. And once they get volume on the market and some transactions flowing, then people can figure out where to price the stuff. You're not going to get PSA, but you can develop where they fall, and then people will be able to analyze that more and start trusting them more and using them more. The same thing happened with SGC. People just had to figure out what the value of them was, and did it make sense to send the stuff there.
Yeah, so I'll respond to that in a second, but Simon, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, no, just to Bobbles' point, I think the other thing that SGC had going for them was SGC Pete. Like, there was a face that you trusted that made you believe.
Andy, as you know, Orlando mentioned, Carlos mentioned, Andy Broom is way more recognizable in the hobby, and he does a lot of the CGC posts and everything. Like he's a well-known figure in the space. He's been around for a long time, very knowledgeable. SGC actually would reach out to him on some occasions if they had questions on vintage cards. So, but
CGC Andy doesn't roll off the tongue the same way as SGC.
No, SGC Pete, he was a good dude. He was young. He had personality. And that thing, he was ambitious. I'll tell you, I'll be the first one, even though I was using them. When he said 10-day turnaround time, I thought he was full of shit. I was like, dude, how are you going to get, grow and be able to get stuff back in 10 days? And the thing was with him, outside of podcasts and stuff like that, if he said he was going to do something, he usually made it happen.
Oh, I like how you covered it. Yeah, because I was about to say, I was promised a second SGC podcast. Lies were given. Simon, SGC podcast episode 2 never happened. These are all lies.
There were certain things, but for the
set registry
business.
Set registry. Go ahead, Simon.
But I think Bobbles. I think that's what I'm agreeing with what you're saying. Is like he had the polish. He had like he inspired confidence when he spoke. He was the face of the company. That marketing is what CGC is lacking. I feel like if they had an SGC Pete like figure that was kind of captivating in his own way, I think that would go a long way.
And he also was very, very good. If there was big mistakes that were brought up, or posted on, he would acknowledge them and let people know, hey, we're aware of this. This is what we're doing to correct. And so I do think that instilling that confidence and having someone that you can tie to the company, like PSA's gotten that, even though, he's CEO of Collectors or whatever, everybody's associating him with PSA. I do think you have a point there. Andy is known, but I don't know that he has, if he presents himself in that way. Yeah.
The thing I was gonna say earlier, Carlos, is you went on this whole what lessons have I learned, and then you made a dramatic pause, and I swear you were gonna click the cackle $1 Million Man button again.
No, I listen. I'm a man of my word. I promise I was going to restrain myself. Look, we already had a hat trick of $1 Million Man. There's only so much. We have to hold back, Simon. We have to hold back a little. But all I was going to say is as well, though, kind of playing into this, is that yes, Pete had his people that enjoyed him and that kind of it created a certain brand image for them. And Orlando Sears says CGC needs to hire Pete. And it's like, well, that's great if it prompts Orlando to submit to CGC. I like CGC now. Pete being there doesn't mean shit to me. I'll be completely blunt with you. Like I don't care about Pete. He seemed like a great guy. I think he's well spoken. He presented himself extremely well. But I'm sitting there like, I don't care how well pros. My question is, can you deliver for me what I wanted? And for the most part, SGC did the job. So that was the important part, because he could speak as nicely as you want, but if they weren't meeting their turnaround times for the majority of his tenure, if they weren't a reasonably priced option at the time, and if they weren't doing all those things, then who gives a crap? Yeah, like we can find somebody really nice to stand there and be like this front-facing person, but you actually have to deliver on whatever it is you're doing. If you don't deliver it, then it doesn't work. Now, what I would like, and Tom kind of indirectly touched on it here. So first of all, the coaster makers have their own issues, but I would kind of enjoy Tag Pete. Beep boop. I want Robo Pete.
No.
That'd be amazing.
Then I would have to get him on. He's never interviewed on my channel. But if he went there, I would blow his, I have his number. I would blow his phone up until he responded, and I would have to have him on the show just for one question. What the hell are you doing?
What have you done? Did you get into Eric's third Guinness? Is that what happened? Blink if you're being held against your will.
That's mine.
Amazing. Yep, Pete and Andy sounds like a good combo, yes. Stu says, agree, Carlos. I was using SGC before Pete. Pete brought too many people to the SGC world. Now the world is fading into the collector's universe. Ooh, that was poetic. That was nicely done there. So the thing is, like, ultimately, I think this is one of those fun things. Like, Simon, I posed this concept when it came to the Pete era. I actually think in a lot of ways, he got to die the hero before he became the villain. Like, this is, if I'm Pete, I'm never setting foot anywhere near a third-party grader ever again. Like, as far as image, he gets to be a martyr. He gets to go out on his sword. Like, it's you want to work for a card company? Go ahead. Go work for a manufacturer. Go work for anybody else except the third-party grader, because if you do and it doesn't work out, all of a sudden it's like, so was it really you? Because if you don't have the horses around you, all of a sudden you look, it's the Bill Belichick thing. He was doing the stuff on the Browns. It wasn't as great. I actually think he's a better coach than they give him credit for. I think the Browns are the Browns. That's a different issue entirely. But they had all the success with the Patriots. And then Tom Brady goes over to the Buccaneers and wins the Super Bowl. But I'm like, I actually saw that Tampa Bay team. They were almost a playoff team with Jameis. So it's not like they were a terrible garbage team. It's like, actually, got to walk in.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, we know. The account's gone. I know.
Yeah, he got rid of his account too. He just disappeared completely.
Yeah. But my point that I'm making on this one, Simon, is just that we had the opportunity with Belichick to see the whole arc, because you got to see it when he also got older. He wasn't great at drafting, and after a while, some of his deficiencies actually became bigger and bigger. So the system worked great when the system was working great and everybody bought into the system and you had the horses to make it work and you could keep refilling slots. everybody looked at Tom Brady. And the thing is, Tom Brady was perfect for the system that he used. They were very good complementary pieces to each other. By the time Tom Brady was at the end of his career, he was a lot more flexible. He understood how to do all kinds of things. So basically, as long as Tampa Bay worked what he was trying to do, but it worked once. And they just so happen to have a team with talent on it. That's important. The talent is important. So it worked out. So now he gets to leave kind of on this high note. Whereas now, every moment that goes by, Bill Belichick looks worse and worse and worse. And like everything doesn't. Now he's hung around long enough that you're like, oh, was he ever good in the first place? Well, actually, I think he was. But I just don't think he cares anymore. He's really old, and it's not what it once was. He doesn't mean to him what it once did.
I'd agree with that. I think there is a he didn't stay long enough. SGCP didn't stay long enough to screw up big.
Yeah,
but the thing I'll give him credit for, anytime he did screw up, he took accountability for it.
Sure. I just think it would have been interesting if he had actually hung around long enough where everybody looks at him and goes, okay, so you're poised to, take market share and really give PSA a run for its money. If anybody goes back and looks at the gem rate, you can go back and look at the old data, by the way. You can go look at SGC at its peak. PSA had actually increased the gap. The gap between the two was actually wider at SGC's peak. Yes, SGC was doing more, but more cards were getting graded, period. Everybody was getting more cards. So SGC also got more cards. So they were actually on the rise, but PSA's numbers also rose. So the gap was they were actually getting a smaller market share, even though they were getting physically more cards. It wasn't the same thing. So a lot of people but they misremember it. That's the beauty of the story, Simon. You can tell the narrative and people will go like, man, they were right on the cusp. It's like, actually the gap was wider than it had ever been at their apex. But they were successful. They actually were doing great. But it was probably a good reason that Dave Foreman said, yes, I will take your money.
Now, one thing I'm going to rebuke on this.
You had 15,000 cards ready to send in and it didn't happen?
No.
Oh.
If you compare the sports, I do think the gap was closing. But PSA's rise and TCG obviously was way more massive than SGC's.
When I'm doing this, Brandon, if you're a grader, all the cards count.
Oh, well,
if we go by category, if we go by category, fair enough.
That they gave me, the little SGC tuxedo Pikachu that they sent me, the little plush. I still have it in hopes that one day it will be relevant, but I doubt it.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. Like we can do that game earlier with the robots. Like a lot of people went and looked. Now that GemRay put them on there, and they're like, "Oh, that looks like a decent number." Well, go look at the sports number.
Yeah,
sports. I think Eric graded more just putting a couple of things, hammering a few cards together. I think he actually did more grading, even though he doesn't grade. Like it's actually a really pathetically low number. It's bad. So I think every breaker will break each other's repacks into infinity. That'd be amazing. Pete was the face of transparency for SGC. No other company had that right now. He was good for the brand. What if, hold on, Simon, let's combine it. What if PSA, instead of having Pete, what if they get AI Pete?
Oh.
Like hologram Pete?
Yes, you don't even need the real one.
You
just get AI Pete.
There's enough footage out there that they could make that happen.
Yes. See, we don't need the real guy. Brandon, we just need AI Pete. That's all we need. Amazing. I've solved it. I've solved all the problems. Momscar is going to tank now. If I look at Neo's thumbnail, they're going to 0. Straight down. Down.
Carlos?
Yes.
Carlos, I'm getting kind of hot. You feeling hot? I think I got to take the sweatshirt off, man.
I think you got to do it.
That's I think so. It's a little warm. Heat's on to it.
Yeah. Oh. 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 Oh, that's better.
After the purchase, it finally happened, Brendan. It's turned over.
I feel a lot better.
Started with the Beckett hat, and now
I feel
a little over an hour.
Like a new man. Okay. I feel
a richer man.
I feel like everything I do.
You feel like Bobby Orr going from the Bruins
shut up.
To the Blackhawks.
To the Chicago Blackhawks.
You ruined it. You ruined the whole ruined the vibe. Now you got me in a bad mood. I was in a funny mood. I was like, hey. Now I just want to slap you.
That's right, Ham. You know it. That's right. Yeah. Oh, come on, Ham. You know he's not in America. Listen, if there's one thing, I know a few things Eric hates. He claims to hate mayonnaise, but let's say for the sake of conversation, let's pretend he hates mayonnaise. I happen to know for a fact he hates America, the troops, and freedom. So he has nothing to do with America. Nothing at all.
Speaking
I
of which,
want to say before I was rudely interrupted by Gandalf is that now that I am PSA.
I think you should wear the Beckett hat with the shirt. I think combine the hat with the shirt.
Now that I am PSA, I'm going to do everything better now. Everything's going to be, apple pie and rainbows. Everything's going to be perfect. There's not going to be any more issues. And I just feel better already.
Eric, I got a couple questions. First of all,
Only a couple?
well, there's been some things I've noticed this week. First of all, you have this hatred of mayonnaise, and apparently Connor McDavid's wife reveals that he has a phobia of ketchup. So I thought, what is with these hockey people and condiments?
They're scary.
And then I noticed a lot of discussions this week tying the great sport of baseball with the sport of hockey. There's been several conversations this week tying the two together. Now, is this all just been a ruse that, your Boston boys lost in '86, and so you pretend to hate it, but you actually do enjoy it? Or what is this?
Take to drive to Virginia from Massachusetts. We're about to
I can meet you halfway.
I'm going to knock that beard right off your face.
He'll take you out with the beard. You're done. It's over. It's gonna be amazing.
Keep it up.
I like this one. How about you? Go ahead.
I was gonna say he's gonna knock him straight into Guelph.
That's gonna be amazing.
right into the fake world of Guelph. I'm gonna knock you right into it. You wait. Keep it up.
You're gonna see Eric. You keep. We're gonna bring him one of these days, Simon. I'm taking Eric to Guelph, and he's not coming back. I'm taking him to the Albion. I'm taking him down the street. It's gonna be great. We're gonna go from one place to another, and everywhere he goes, he's gonna get mayoed. Everywhere. There is no place that he will be safe.
Eric probably thinks when you actually get to Guelph, just fall off the face of the earth. That's what he thinks happens.
Real place. I'm not afraid of it. It's not real. There's no place in the world named Guelph. Come on. That's just.
Do we have to go back to the boroughs?
No.
We had a lot of boroughs. Simon, at one point, one of my favorite things was that we actually went on the map and there were like literally multiple places that end in borough. Borough is the suffix of choice, and everything was. It's like at this point, it's like I'm looking forward to taking Eric to Guelph Borough.
There's a lot of boroughs here. The English came over here and just brought over their stupid words. Okay, it's not, and their spellings. It's not my fault.
Oh, a lot of things are your fault.
So, like,
listen,
hobbits.
Oh yes, Eric's. But Eric's shirt though doesn't smell.
Movies, right?
I didn't hear you because I wasn't listening.
I said, like the hobbits, and you know who was in those movies, right?
Yeah, you.
All I'm saying is that Eric's shirt, Simon, inspires me to upcharge the like button.
Mm-hmm.
It came over me. I just suddenly had a fit of inspiration. I go, like button's getting upcharged.
Well, I did just sell my company. I am rolling in the dough. That is true.
I think you should do the Beckett hat. I agreed from earlier. I think you should do the Beckett hat while wearing the PSA shirt. That'll really sell it.
Well, I kind of want to put Beckett in the rearview mirror now that PSA and collectibles has bought us out. And I want to be like Mark McGuire. Okay, I don't want to talk about the past. I'm not here to talk about the past and the dumpster fire, which has been Beckett for the last decade plus. I want to talk about the future and how Collector's Universe is going to be nothing but pepperoni pizza and rainbows moving forward with us here at good old. I don't even want to say the word anymore.
Was it like getting a big scoop of mayo and sucking on it like peanut butter before bed?
Nope, that's disgusting. Now you're going to get chopped in the throat too.
I'm not concerned. I've seen your girlish screams in the sight of mayonnaise. I haven't seen Eric say one word about the United States attacking Venezuela for the mayonnaise reserves. Listen,
No, it's different. No, what they have backwards is we're blowing those boats up because they're trying to sneak mayonnaise in on those boats.
sure they are.
And the drones out, and we're blowing them up before that mayonnaise can hit U.S. soil.
Mm-hmm.
The
All
mayonnaise
for the
revolution.
mayonnaise reserve dollar. Yep, all for the mayonnaise reserve dollar. I see what's going on. What are the guesses for BGS sold for? We really don't know. I think Simon threw out at least a number that's plausible. I would imagine, Simon, it would be a nightmare to try to do a valuation on that.
Yeah, it's pure guesswork.
Yeah, because the normal way, a lot of businesses, not all, but a normal way is you try to take revenues and you multiply it by whatever number of years and you try to basically work that. But their fortunes have got to be like this. Like, who knows? Like some year, because they never took advantage of the 2020 boom. When that happened, Beckett literally was just stalled. They were just sitting there and the hamster was dead and the wheel had just stopped turning. And that happened for the longest time. They tried to do a relaunch, a rebrand, that failed. They canned it. They were supposed to fix the slabs and get rid of the security issue they had where they were getting replicated. That never happened. That right there went the way of SGC podcast episode 2. Maybe Pete was behind that one too. Brutal. Just brutal. Don't joke earlier and Carlos didn't read the funny part of my comment. They were sold for Zion gems, some used top loaders, and several lottery tickets. Used lottery tickets?
Yeah, scratchers that have already been scratched.
Collector's Universe. Resistance is futile. Yes. Thing is, Eric low-key thinks he could beat up Brandon, but my money is on Brandon. My money is on everyone. He's got a broken hip.
I woke up last night because my good hip was hurting. I woke up in discomfort and I went, oh boy, that's not a good sign. I may end up with 2 of these fakies.
And this man, Simon, is trying to pick fights with people.
Yeah,
we're literally gonna get a grandpa. We're gonna get a grandpa in Guelph, and he'll kick him in the hip, and I go, "That'll show you. That'll teach you."
Powered by the fear of mayonnaise. Anything's possible.
Dude, that's a real fear. Don't make fun of it. Scary.
Brandon would use his musket and probably hit you. He'd make contact. The musket would work. My money's on Brandon. He learned how to fight from George Washington in high school and how to arm wrestle from Abraham Lincoln. These are all valid points.
Yeah,
Eric would know who those people are, but
that he cut down the cherry tree with.
That's right. Now Eric would know who those people are, but he hates America. Bobbles would hit him with his musket with how slow air moves. Yes. So Fanatics buy Leaf Wildcard and Upper Deck before the end of the year. So actually, let's touch on the Fanatics thing for a little bit, because I think this is also something that's kind of fun. Obviously, a lot of folks are, as soon as you get into one monopoly, you get into the other, right? And for the longest time, it was, Fanatics, and would they make the move and get Panini? And that's just been stalled for the longest time. And then Panini kind of torpedoed themselves based on that whole deal that came out. It's like, see, there's, we don't need licenses. It's not a big deal. It's fine. And then Wildcard's suing them. It's like, it's like, you're a monopoly too. It's not a great combo, Simon. Like, should I go back to the text message? What are these idiots doing? It seems like a valid question just in general.
Yeah.
I always wonder with some of these companies, but I said it during the live a couple of weeks ago. It's like, it's not like the best and brightest are out here. They're really not. They're getting whoever you get. Like, this is who you hired. And they're like, yeah, that's a great idea, sir. It's like, no, it's a terrible idea. It's a stupid idea. What are you talking about? That's going to make us look terrible. It's not going to really make us any more money. Okay. I just don't get it. Like a lot of these things. They would solve a lot of these problems by actually hiring somebody and paying them to actually do the job properly, but that would require you to actually pay someone as opposed to just finding whoever you can find. $50K slabs a month to $20, $1 million a month, 12 million revenue plus magazines rebranding, 75 million is your guess? Oh, it's as a reasonable guess as any. We'll have to see. It's only a drop in the bucket, though, in those debts. Abe linking the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Yes. So I don't know. For me, I think this is a fun story, but it's also kind of a simplistic story. It is entertaining, though. Again, I just appreciate that it's a collectivist miracle, almost a year to the day of collectivists. A piece of collectivists is gone, but never forgotten, Brendan. Never forgotten. Really is.
I just want this company to be dissolved into the other companies with their employees and their and the what little knowledge they have, and just make Beckett go away. There's nothing left that is worthy of keeping. Get rid of it. It has been a dumpster fire and an embarrassment and a literal joke for a decade plus. You're not PSA collectors. I know I have to keep saying collectors. Collectors is not going to turn this around. And why would they want to? Why would they want Beckett to become number one and destroy their other company, PSA, which is already number one? What motivation does collectors have to make Beckett successful? So it ruins the profits of the other company?
How would it ruin the profits of the other company?
If Beckett becomes number one,
Beckett doesn't have to become number one.
no, but isn't that the goal?
Why would that be the goal? Why wouldn't you want them to be number two?
If you buy a company, don't you want it to be the most successful it can be? Don't
No.
you want it?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Well, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. If I was to take my millions and go buy, a propane company, the first thing I'm doing is hiring Hank Hill to run it because I want the best, and I want to be the number one propane company going. So why wouldn't you want to purchase a company and your goal is not to make it the best?
Because you have a unique space in the market. Simon, we've kind of already talked about this. There is a segment of the audience that doesn't want to submit to PSA, even if they killed everybody. Even if there is no one left, even tag, they will be like, I don't really need a coaster that badly. You know what? Top loader it is. They will literally be like, no, under no circumstance. You know what? Upside down one touch. Like Eric likes it. Whatever it takes. Anything else. So for that audience, as soon as you go forward with it, then what you do next is you say, one better way is we'll run this other company. We'll pretend it runs independently. Like for me, Simon, the goal should have always been, it's in the same office. It's the Duff thing where it's Duff dry, Duff light, Duff this. It's all coming from the same vat, and it's 3 different tanks, but it's coming from the same vat. And you're collecting the money on all 3. That's basically that's basically what I would have done with SGC. That would have been the idea. The idea is you don't like PSA, great. Buy a Tux. Why? Because we still get the money. We don't care. What's better than making them number one, Eric, is making a number 2 that collects CGC's bit, that takes from the tag bots, that takes from all the other ones, and then you just let them both exist, but you've already cut off all the extra. You've removed all the extra expense that you didn't need, and then you double profits because you don't care which one's number 1 or which one's number 2. You're still making the same money.
So when we were talking about the timing that SGC stayed stable and they were being allowed to run at business as usual, do you think, and I've seen a lot of questions in the chat tonight about what is the potential purchase price? Could it be possible that PSA is buying them out, letting them operate as usual to recoup and cut the cost of the business? Because if they're running profitable, you let them run for a period of time, they make their money back, and then you say, okay, we're going to slow you down, and they become, at that point, a free company that if they survive, great. If they don't, they're just a competitor out the window. And we may see the same thing with Beckett here. They have more pieces to the puzzle. So there's more moving parts there. It's not just card grading, where SGC was simple. It was just the card grading. So it'll be interesting to see, do they chop off some of it? Do they say, okay, your old time card shops, you're not getting Beckett Monthly Magazine anymore. Digital subscribers, we're cutting you guys off, and start taking chunks out of the company to slice it down to what they feel could be, revenue back into the pot to pay for the company. But I don't know. It just seems like that would be the smart way to do it. Buy it, make your money back, and, let them go as whatever. So
I appreciate that you said if he dies, he dies. As the great philosopher King Drago once said, if he dies, he dies. That's fair. So real quick, I'll touch on one or two more things, and then I'll maybe do the Fanatics thing for a moment, and then we can wind her down a little bit. I think we can get the silly card of the weekend thing. I think we're okay time-wise, so we'll touch on that. So Chad, if there's anything else that we want to touch on related to this, let us know. But real quick, I want to kind of obviously we focus mainly on the grading thing. That was the main focus of a lot of this. We did touch on the comics thing a little bit, but we're not comics guys, so we can't speak to it. I do think that's significant, though. I think having the Control F comics thing, and thereby controlling the PSA comics grading, which they just started, the Beckett version of comics grading, which is already established, and then CGC is the only other real competition. So in reality, they're kind of a two-party system in comics by this acquisition automatically. So they kind of established and created that thing that we're worried about in the card thing. So first thought I have, before I get back to the grading thing for a moment, is even though it's not really heavily used, Beckett did have the marketplace thing. I don't think it's this gigantic moneymaker, but there are these different shops that actually use it. Burbank actually has millions of cards sitting in the Beckett marketplace, amongst others. So it exists. And I've found stuff on there. It's one of those things a little more obscure. You kind of have to go out of your way to dig. It's not a great experience. It's actually kind of crummy. But the reality is, if it was even marginally better, it would be just another marketplace available, an option that some of these companies could use. So what do you think? This is kind of a timeline question, but how long do you think some of that other stuff goes on? Everybody looks at the grading, but how about the marketplace? How about before the website? I'm assuming they're not going to put more money into it. So how long until that gets shut down or pieces get ripped off or whatever the case may be? You know, how long do you think before we actually see a tangible difference here? I'll open that to the chat and anybody who wants to chime in. I'm asking an open question. What do you think the timeline? I'm not talking about for it all to go away. I'm not talking about going full boutique. But I'm saying there are these other pieces as well. We were only talking about the grading up until this point. What about the other stuff? How long before some of that kind of slides? It's again, the Beckett website wasn't great to begin with, so it's not like it has a lot to sync. It's already pretty far down. Go ahead, Brandon.
I'm gonna go Paul's route. I think some of this stuff will disappear by next national.
Okay.
But I think the one that has the biggest longevity, and I spoke about it earlier, the autograph authentication, because they go around to the shows, they're there for the signing. Like, did they use them at the expo? I didn't go back and check that, but I know like Chantilly and the shows like that, Beckett's there, they're on site to do autograph authentication. So I think that portion will be one that stays relevant the longest out of it.
Okay. Seems fair. Does anybody else have a direction or an angle they want to take on this one?
I think it will be left up to each individual piece to see if they are profitable on their own. And if they're profitable, then keep it going. And if it's not, shut her down. And so we will soon find out whether or not the marketplace is actually profitable or not. I think that'll be the deciding factor. But I agree with Bobbles on the autograph piece.
Okay, that's fair. Let me ask kind of a side question. What are the odds that somebody over at Collectors wakes up tomorrow and realizes they had the third Guinness and they're like, what did we do? Why? And then the guys at Beckett are like, no takebacks. No takebacks.
Yeah. The check's already been cashed.
It's done.
It's too late.
It's over. We had a hell of a party. It's done. I don't know. Like I said, to me, I understand. So going back, jokes aside, going back to the beginning of kind of the conversation, I actually I can make the business case of I understand why you would do it, but I also think your timing is off. I think they've literally gone out of their way to ignore and be like, are you sure that now is the time you want to make this move? Was there an urgent? That's why I asked earlier. I just posed the question. I asked, was there anything else that was giving them a little bit of pressure to be like, get this done before the new year? Just get it done now. So it's, as opposed to, why couldn't you done it in 6 months? Would it have been just as advantageous a position 6 months or a year or whatever and get a little distance between the current controversies and not just immediately go into making yourself look more monopolistic?
It might just be as simple as the Beckett owner, he's got to sell off all of his stuff, and Beckett was next on the list. He sold off a company that was worth like $300 million, and the next or 2 or 3 down, Beckett's there at 50, 75, whatever the number is. And it was just time to get it done. And PSA was the highest bidder.
Sure. So Dan here says, I'm beginning to think that Nat Turner is kind of an idiot. Let me ask you a question though, Dan. Are you sure that Steve Cohen didn't have anything to say about it? Remember, Steve Cohen has more money than Nat Turner does. He's part of that consortium too. So you're saying Steve Cohen has no say in how any of his properties are run? He doesn't care. He just cuts another check. Remember, it's the group. Everybody looks at Nat Turner. He's part of a group that bought collectors. There are these other Steve Cohen, his like $23 billion or whatever it is. Like it's one of the holdings that he's got, a variety of different holdings. But all these other guys like making money too. So when you do one of these deals, there has to be a pitch to them and say, oh, this is how this will make us more money. Even if it's a quick, high level description going like, okay, so you want to spend how much? And how is this going to make us more money? Okay, great. Sounds good. As long as he at least gets an elevator pitch, what I'm saying. And that's why I'm saying like from the other guys, and Nat at the end of the day also wants to make some money out of this. They all do. And at some point, I think Collectors is going to go public. So the goal here is whatever you're acquiring should, in theory, add to your portfolio in some way. All these things are portfolio items. You're adding it to a portfolio. So how does this make you more money? That should always be the question. I think what's going to happen is Eric is going to wake up one day off a 2-3 Guinness bender, and all of a sudden he's going to be like, bring back Jimbo! And Jimbo will triumphantly come in and defensively raise profits. It's going to be amazing.
Defensively.
Yeah, defensively. He doesn't do it offensively. He only does it defensively.
That's true.
It's a lighter touch. The defensive raise is the different thing.
Yes.
Think about it.
We all need the Holy Father, Dr. Jimbo, to come back and right the ship because he's proven lately, especially that he's the one for the job.
Beckett Monthly should change the hot cold list from the cards to the companies.
Oh, I thought
Brandon, what if they did it legitimately and in the cold list is Beckett? They just put themselves like ice cold. Could not be colder. God damn, it's cold. It's frigid out here. I'm freezing. How fast will we get upcharges at Beckett? Black labels for everyone. Well, like as long as we get black labels. Simon, what if we just make it black labels for everyone? What if all of them are black labels now? Everything. Yours, you get a black label. You get a black label. You get a black label.
Instead of
black label 8,
we get a black label
9. Yeah, make them all black.
Black label 1. They're all black labels. Everything's a black label, Simon. There's nothing but black labels. That'll make everybody feel better. If it's smart, they would still use the brand recognition to make money off it. So that was kind of my argument for the SGC thing at the time. There is a way to just reduce the cost and use the name. Again, there are people who want the name, people who want the fantasy. There are people who want to pretend that they know, like deep down inside, they know that it's like, oh, it's actually the same company. But at the same time, they want the tux, or they want their, Beckett subgrades or whatever the case may. Again, they're attached to the romantic vision of what Beckett was. Well, if you give that to them, Simon, you can capitalize off that. You can sell that to them. Just go, here you go. But in the meantime, your job is just to streamline and make you more profitable in the meantime as well.
What if Nat Turner thinks that he can modernize the Beckett Marketplace website to turn into something better?
By better, do you mean that I can hit a snipe button, or that I can add, or that I can have a chat so I can trash talk people in the marketplace?
I like that idea. That whole chat.
I heard that could work.
And threaten people that if you outbid me, I'll kill you or something.
So Simon, are you implying that maybe the person that did Probstein's site reached out to Nat and said, hey, I had a trial run. I know where I messed up. Let me revive the Beckett marketplace for you?
That was the beta.
Yeah.
Now we're ready to go.
I figured out what all the errors were.
Yeah. All of them. Everything was the error. Everything. The whole thing.
I like it. I like the direction this has gone. I'm a fan. Big fan. I like this. That's defensive acquisition. That's right. You got it. There's no other answer. They did it because of all the hate and shady talk going about them. Remember, most of the hobby forgets when the new headline comes out. It's not hold on. It's faulty strategery if your new plan is to make people hate you more.
Yes.
That
doesn't-
you're supposed to make it hate them more.
Right.
Them over there.
This is where you donate, $10,000 whatever $1,000 to a charity to make people forget that you did something shady.
they call that the P. Ryan.
Yeah. So, that's what you do in this hobby. When you get caught doing something shady, you donate money to a children's charity, and then everyone goes, "Oh, what were we upset about? I don't remember."
We'll just
You
get mad at the wrong
don't
charity.
buy a dumpster that is on fire with hot trash. That's not what you do.
Eric, it's this hobby. We'll just decide it was the wrong children's charity, and we'll be mad at them anyway.
Yeah.
Are you saying the other diseases aren't important, Eric? Is that what you're saying?
Wait a minute, those kids have gimpy right legs. I only support charities with kids with gimpy left legs. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Yep.
It's
Danny.
actually the Guelph General Hospital is where we're
Amazing.
gonna make the money.
Amazing.
Well,
That's going right into Carlos's pocket because he invented that crap. So
That's a worthy cause, Eric.
anyone who sends money to anything with the Guelph name on it, it goes directly into Carlos's pocket because of the cost.
That'd be amazing, Simon. I'd love that. That'd be great.
That shit up.
So I was going to ask the question earlier. I'm going to ask it now right after we read Dan's comment. Dan's Vintage Baseball says, tag and comps are enough partners. We did see that, yeah. This was announced yesterday. I didn't see it until now. It amused me greatly. I'm just going to say. Now you can get your coasters directly from ComC.
That's gonna go great.
Yeah. Can we have a chat ask what drugs the sellers are on with their pricing? Maybe. Collectors see dollars somewhere in Beckett. They do, apparently. What will Carlos do if Tag ever miraculously becomes a behemoth in the hobby? Then I am going to, then and only then, will I acquiesce and I'll say, fine. I will give in to the rising tide. Every one of Eric's cards become coasters.
and I was gonna say, if this actually happens, then Eric will promise to visit Guelph.
Oh, yeah. While he's at Guelph, while I distract him with Guelph and he's astounded, I will make sure all of his cards are tag graded. So when he comes back, he's like, no!
Again,
Some of them will be double graded.
This-
I like the way their slabs look, but I don't. I do not yet trust the process.
I bet you will like them even more when you see all the labels say Bobby Orr, Chicago Blackhawks great.
I wouldn't like that at all.
I bet you'd love it.
No.
Dr. Jim O'Beck is now Physician Jim. That's why Eric donates the Like Button Fund. That's right. So where do I my Beckett 9.5 cards for review and hope 30% come back with Black Label? Live the dream. Tech AI doesn't do vintage.
Doesn't
Yet.
do much of anything.
It doesn't. When Eric visits Guelph, he will also visit Neverland and Narnia. He wishes he could visit Narnia. That'd be amazing.
Same thing.
Okay, so Simon, this is a question I was going to ask. So I'm going to ask this and ask the chat. So we've talked about all these scenarios. We've discussed various elements of it, the companies and all this stuff. But here is the ultimate question. What if, Brandon, and stick with me on this. What if this was all a cleverly created ploy and in reality, collectors bought Beckett so they could flip it to CGC? And they say, I need some room, bro. So they bought it. And CGC comes in like a repacker. He goes, I'm paying you 90% of comps. It's like, and you defensively shilled the price up. So in reality, you didn't really pay that. But I'll give it to you 90%, but I need some room, bro.
I'm going to say that would be the dumbest transaction. Okay.
After buying Beckett in the first place? After buying Beckett in the first place?
Because we've seen some stupid transactions. But why would they even be interested when they already took all of Beckett's best pieces when CGC began grading cards? Like, there'd be nothing in it for them.
Brandon, I believe based on we live in a world where someone bought Beckett. I don't believe that they actually do that level of diligence.
Maybe we're all overthinking this, and this is just simply a tax write-off.
Everything could be a tax write-off. It could be. But look, I'm just saying, for me, I would just get a kick out of this, Simon, if this was just a really elaborate, fancy version of somebody at a trade night just buying some shit and then flipping it to somebody else. It's like we came up with all these scenarios and all this stuff, and in reality, it was just like this quick flip transaction. And CGC is like, yeah, we got a crap ton of it, sure, whatever. They're not even paying attention. They're like, wait, did we buy what?
CGC's customer service is in Texas.
I'm just saying. What if it's just a really,
the
what if it's just a really ridiculous
based out of
flip?
Texas, so I mean, there's some proximity locations there. Maybe.
I'm just curious. I merely am asking a question. Someday, a TPG will come along that pays its graders a living wage, and that TPG will become number one. I wonder though if that would be worthwhile for them to do though. Like realistically, if you automate enough, because the thing is, I'll go back to what I said previously. Grading has to be subjective by its nature. If you actually try to remove the subjectivity to it, it actually isn't grading. It won't work. Like you can do it, you can program the thing, but the system would be wrong. All right, you got this from a computer. Cool, the computer was wrong. But it's got this defect, this defect, this defect. It's not a 10. But the computer said, I don't care what the computer said. The computer's wrong. It's shit. That's what we've got now. This is what we have. All right, the computer said it's still wrong. It's still incorrect. But if you play these graders living wage, like for what? A lot of people don't. Is that considered a skilled job for you? Like if you can train enough people to do it, even if you could. Okay, well, how much skill is involved here? Like realistically, what do you consider a wage that they would want to pay? PSA is based out of Santa Ana, one of their big grading centers. You've got the other one in New Jersey. You've got this other one here. So I think maybe what I'm saying, my point that I'm making here, and I'd ask this question, Simon, and this is actually a more general question. Let me open it up. I've seen a lot of people since the boom that have wanted to work for these different card companies, be it a grader, be it a manufacturer, be it this, be it that, whatever. Okay, cool. Here's my question. If you have a job and you make presumably a decent amount of money, let's say you're pretty good at your job, and you say, oh yeah, but I'm a long-time collector, it'd be kind of cool to work for the company. How much of a pay cut would you take to work for that job? If it's a quote-unquote dream job, theoretically, how much of a pay cut would you take? My answer is not much. Because if I'm actually good at what I'm doing, I'd rather just make what I can make and actually get what the marketplace will bear. If I'm going to do it, then I'll do it for what the going rate is, for whatever level of skill it is that I have. I'm not interested in taking a pay cut to work for a card company. So why would other people want to do that if they're actually good at what they do? I merely asked the question. That's for the chat. That's for anybody else. Would you want to work in the card? Let's pretend that half of these problems weren't really as bad as they are. We obviously acknowledge they are. But let's pretend you have this fantasy. You would love to work in the card industry in some way. You do whatever it is you do, and there's a possibility at one of these companies doing that, doing what you're actually good at. How much of a pay cut would you take to work there and do that? I wouldn't. Maybe I'm selfish, but I got bills to pay and I got stuff I want. I don't really want to take a pay cut to do. Oh, but it's like you're still doing the same job. It's not like you're doing a different job. I'm talking about doing a job that actually uses whatever skills you've got, that you're getting paid X for. How much of a pay cut would you take to do effectively the same job for a card company?
I'm not taking.
I got bills, bro.
Yeah, I'm not taking pay cuts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brandon, thoughts? I know you work for yourself, but I'm just simply asking a question.
I was going to say no.
No, but let's pretend you could utilize some of your skills and but it would still be a pay cut. Would you want to work for a card company? Probably not.
So doing, and Eric can kind of attest to this, and you've got, your relationship with AMG and everything.
Mhm.
Doing the bulk submissions, it was fun. It was cool, helping people, seeing the cards come through and everything else. But all of that stuff isn't what a lot of people, I think it's actually cracked up to be. I mean, we're constantly talking about negative stuff going on in this space, and I really think that it's cooler on the outside than when you actually get into the position.
Yeah.
So if someone, oh, it's my dream to work for a card company or a grading or some industry inside the space, and you're already doing something that you're making, good money at, and you're good at it, I don't think people would go into it, especially if they take a pay cut, and be happy.
Mhm.
Like even the submissions, like, it was just, it was me and her, doing them. But it was the constant, like there was messages constantly. There was stress. You don't think there's much stress in it, but there was a ton of stress because you're dealing with other people's stuff. Like there's all these other elements that I don't think people actually look at.
That's only because you care. If you didn't care, there wouldn't be any stress. That's your problem.
Well, and I don't want to go too far off the path here, but I was seeing some posts. Neil actually posted one that was saying, and I think it stemmed from those back pages comment or a thread or something. I don't know exactly, but it was to the point and about breakers and it was a comment of breakers are, they think you're great until the money stops coming in. And my thing was, I continue, like, for those that don't know, I recently stopped doing bulk submitting for SGC, but I personally hadn't submitted with them since October of 2023. And I was doing it. The biggest reason was when I was going to stop before, and the amount of people, when I was sending out packages, messaged them was like, I hope this isn't the last time. And, that's looking at it the flip side, because there was a lot of people, and I didn't recognize it, but there was a lot of people that it was actually helping, because there are a lot of people out there that want to grade and don't know how, or they don't trust sending it in and they want someone else to do it for them or whatever, and you're making it easier on them. And so we continued it on as long as we could, and our orders got smaller over time and everything, but there was still a lot to it. I mean, keeping up with everything, making sure all the payments are correct. You become the voice for, reaching out to the company and everything else. And I know people thought, oh, well, you're just doing it for the money.
And the
There
nookie.
was not hardly any money involved in it. Like, if anybody ever sat down and broke it down, I wasn't doing it for the money. By far wasn't doing it for the money.
The
So to answer the question, especially with what I'm doing right now, I wouldn't leave what I'm doing now to work for a company, a card company of any sorts. I wouldn't, especially not if I'm going to make less.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key. So I went through a couple of the comments there. Brendan was saying, stock options to make up for the salary cut. What incentive does the company have to give you stock options? They know there are people who will take. So what it comes down to, what my overarching point, the reason I asked the question, and I just asked the question, I was kind of curious. And, here it says, it sucks to turn your hobby into your work, which you can, definitely can. It can suck some of the life and some of the enjoyment out of it. There are people who want to work in the industry. Fine. No problem. You want to sacrifice some money to do that? That's your prerogative. Hey, more power to you. But the reason I asked the question is I said, okay, so if there are a lot of more people than I think people would think, they would say like, no, I can't take a pay cut to do that. I have bills. I've got this other stuff going on. Presumably you acquired these skills, and let's assume you're good at whatever it is you're doing. So if those people would say no, but somebody will say yes, then are you necessarily getting the best? And if you're not getting the best, then you're every single day that this organization is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're adding more layers of bureaucracy, and the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, then am I supposed to be surprised when we have a lot of these issues that we have? And some of them are just incompetence. You couldn't hire the best people because they look at what you offered and they laughed. I'm not going to click the button. They did the $1 Million Man cackle though, and they said, yeah, no, not for that. No, thanks. Or well, I'm not moving all the way over there just to do that job. And then that's how much you're offering? No, that's okay. I can take a job doing something somewhere else.
I don't know what the turnover percentage is, but this was discussed, especially during the boom period. It was really hard for these companies to keep graders on hand because the card prices and everything got so out of whack that the people realized especially when the base card boom, you could grade base cards and they sold for hundreds of dollars. But people that were then trained to grade, they knew that they could go out and buy raw cards, pre-screen them, send them in, and they were making more money doing that than they were going and actually working and grading. So, I don't know how you retain some of those positions if people realize that, hey, I don't have to sit here at this desk and do, grade other people's cards. I can literally pre-screen my cards, know what they're going to be, send them in, and make more money selling them. So it is that is one of the aspects to it, in terms of what is a wage that they're having to pay these folks, the skilled people that they can trust. What are they paying them to retain them?
Yeah. Well, that's it. The only reason I brought it up is I just posed the question that we have a lot of these issues we have. Well, are you going to act surprised that, you get these people, and then they make certain mistakes. You're like, whoa, how could they make that mistake? It's like, well, how much are you paying them? What are you actually paying these people to do the job? And then at what you're offering, are you just taking whatever you can get at that point? And if that's what you're hiring, and those are the people that are willing to take that, because I guess in their case, they can't get more, or they're not ambitious enough to get more, then you get what you get. And you run into these same issues. That's it. Just one possible explanation for a variety of different ills that the hobby has. And as the industry got bigger, it's not like the salaries suddenly skyrocketed. So it didn't necessarily make it more attractive for these people with some talent or skills to come in. So it's not, the problem isn't getting fixed. The talent is actually getting worse. It's just being diluted amongst whatever. If you're actually good, you can jump to another company and maybe they offer you more money.
Do we not remember during the pandemic, they, I think it was PSA hired like 100 new graders because, they needed more help. Well, they hired 100 people off the street to start grading your cards because they had a millions of cards backlog. These people have never done this before. So think of all those cards that were graded during the pandemic by people who didn't have jobs at the time, who were willing to work for like minimum wage at or at least the starting rate at PSA grading, that walked in off the street, who had never done this before, were given a 1-day lesson of this is how we grade cards here, set up at your little table and started grading cards right away because there were millions of cards backlogged and they had to get them out. Good job. I'm glad you paid for that.
Here is a little bit to ease your mind on that, Eric. Most of them were Zion Williamson, John Morant, probably
Bobbles.
Mike Trout.
And Bobbles.
Yeah, and so all of those cards really don't have much value today anyway, so yeah, it's all right.
But that's what you people paid for.
Listen, I just wish they... Go ahead.
It is funny, Eric going on that rant as he's wearing a PSA shirt.
Well, no, this is what I was about to go to. He was discussing people who know nothing about cards being put into these positions.
And it's like, there he is.
That's right.
This right here is the poster. He still believes the Boston Bruins are an actual hockey team. Everybody knows those are the fake ones.
But this isn't just, that's not just the PSA thing. All the companies did that. They were all behind. They all needed more help. They built buildings that you could see from space. They, hired more people. But again, most of these people that they hired were unemployed. Other people had jobs. So they hired people that were unemployed who didn't have a clue about collecting, brought them in and said, you're a card grader now because we're millions of cards behind. All the companies did that.
As opposed to being card knowledgeable adjacent?
I wouldn't even say I'm card knowledgeable adjacent.
That's probably about right.
I think that's giving me too much credit.
Oh, look at you. We've upgraded you. Going from 1K at the time. That's right. All right. Last question then. We'll finish off on this. So good job by everybody. We actually have the silly card of the week, but I don't want to take it too long. Right now, I think we've had a pretty good conversation, a pretty good chat and everything, but I got one last thought. So I'll start with you, Simon. So Fanatics, they're getting rid of the breakers. They're moving. They're consolidating. They're moving it all. So at the same time, the Collectors is crushing us with the Death Star. Fanatics is crushing the little breakers. I watched one of the videos, and the allocations are going away. It is the end is nigh. By the time it's done, it's only going to be one breaker left to rule them all. It's going to be the same guy grading the PSA cards because that's all that's left. There's nothing left. And he'll be on Whatnot probably. Whatnot or Fanatics Live. That's all that's left.
I now own Whatnot too. I just wanted to let you know that.
Wow. So what do you think? What do you think? It seemed like the direction that they were, obviously this direction they were always going to go. I do think it's kind of weird because, so let me give a couple of quick bullet points and then take whichever one interests you. I think it's interesting because obviously a lot of folks don't like breakers, period. So on the one hand, don't cry for me because, a lot of people are looking at it going like, oh, if the breakers weren't here, my box price would be lower. I'm looking at the manufacturer going, I don't think your box price would be lower no matter what happened, but it's easy to blame. Well, those small breakers will then get crushed and then they'll just be replaced by bigger breakers who are getting the allocation that the smaller breakers had. So in reality, we haven't solved the problem. We just consolidated it into less breakers that are basically doing the same thing. So that's kind of my initial thought. The second thought is, okay, so now you're consolidating less of them. You have less options in the marketplace. Same kind of issue we were talking about earlier. I don't see where this goes well for anybody necessarily, but I don't know. What are thoughts? And chat, by the way, if you've got any thoughts on this as well.
I would say this is just one more step into getting us closer to direct to consumer. And that means fewer everything, more consolidation no matter where we are. And that way Topps doesn't have to send out 1,400 different locations. It's 300 locations, and that'll save them money. All your baseball into a great reference.
Yes, but like that's why I say, like, it was always the direction things were going to go, because they don't. That's why I asked the question about Southern Hobby earlier. Southern Hobby was a distributor, and obviously a lot of distributors started getting their allocation cut. Yeah, so when you've got these distributors and they're getting their allocation cut, Fanatics has distribution capabilities. They don't really want to share. They wanted to get a printer, they got one. So they're taking basically all these different components and putting them under their umbrella, so they have control and access over them. So that part I get. So see, that move for Fanatics, I get that. That's actually a much easier move for me to not only justify but understand than the Beckett acquisition. That's actually one that we kind of have to noodle on that one a little bit. But this move I get. It doesn't feel good for a lot of folks that like having those alternative options, but at least I understand it from a business perspective. I get it. But at the same time, again, it's not going to do anything good. It's not going to make your box prices lower. And even if you go direct to consumer, that's not going to make your box prices lower anyway, because with the new basketball one, the Topps Chrome basketball, they did the Dutch auction. Well, that isn't going to make your prices lower. that isn't doing it. And the folks that are, some of the breakers are grabbing the stuff at the upper prices anyway. It's not getting to the lower prices necessarily. And the lower prices really aren't that low. It's still a very expensive product.
I think people should stop expecting Topps and Fanatics to do things to make the prices lower, because that's not a thing that's going to happen. I don't know why anybody would assume or think that.
There are some people that like to fantasize. The idea is if we get rid of the breakers, now this is just me throwing out an idea. Let's say we wave the magic wand, you get rid of the breakers. Finally, the breakers are gone. Gandalf has spoken. They're out of existence. So you're Fanatics, and you still like money. The breakers were absorbing all this inventory. So now that option is off the table. Yes, you can sell some, to some whales like Eric. They'll buy a few cases of Topps Chrome basketball. He's got the cash to do that.
Truckload.
But you're only going to get so much out of the way. So wouldn't you? You've got a couple of options. You could water down the product to make it cheaper and thereby increasing your profit margin. That's one angle you could take. One thing that I've always thought of is if you want to try to sell that this product is more premium, if you want to make sure the price is kept up and you want to create that vision for people, you could just cut production. You don't have to cut it by a lot, but the idea is to make it so that stuff doesn't sit on the shelf collecting dust. And as a result, you still didn't lower the price of the box. You're just sitting there going, I'll just wait until it collects dust. Well, actually, there's none left because they actually cut production just enough to ensure that they still got the result of making sure that it's still sold out within a certain period of time. So if you want it, you got to buy secondary market. Well, secondary market was higher than it was in the first place. So we still got the high box price anyway.
I personally think that's what we're seeing already. I don't think that they should be cutting breakers. In fact, I think they actually should probably add some, because they're releasing these products so close together. You got to have the money flowing in to buy the product or buy into the breaks or whatever. I've been hunting a particular player, since Topps update, which has been out for about a month now. I can tell you very few of the low number parallels have even surfaced. The Topps Chrome update, I watched a guy, he's done 21 cases. He does 7 case breaks mixed between jumbos, hobbies, and the Breakers Delight stuff. Very little stuff coming out of it. We're not getting the odds, so we don't know, even have an idea of how much of it they printed. And then, by the way, basketball is coming out. So we're going to have all of that. The Breakers going to be full-fledged in that. I think the guy said something about a case of, and I don't know which format, it might have been jumbos, but he said it was like $15,000 for a case. Mm-hmm. Like, this is Topps Chrome. This isn't
Yep.
flawless. This isn't Topps Dynasty or a high-end product. It's Topps Chrome.
Well, how
And
does
we're
Topps Chrome
talking-
though? I think what Fanatics has done is Topps Chrome. They positioned it, and Simon, you can check me on this. I feel like they positioned it similar to where Prism was at the end of its
Yep.
run. They basically said,
exactly.
okay, Prism equals Topps Chrome now.
Well, for
Yep.
baseball, injecting these debut patches, you've now taken what was a shiny, affordable collector product to everybody's going after the lottery ticket because you've got 270 debut patches that each one of them is several $1,000s plus.
Mhm.
So, I actually think, and you mentioned, okay, well, it can force it into direct to consumer. Well, what we're seeing is when they're doing the pre-orders, it feels like that they've figured out a little bit of what they can do here. They release a pre-order, but it's a limited supply.
Yep.
It gets snapped up. It hits secondary market. So they see what the third-party pricing is. So when they release future releases of it, they can mark it up because, oh, well, you don't want to pay $600-700 on eBay. Buy it from us for $550 or whatever. Sounds like a bargain. They're also being smart by delaying retail releases. So it's forcing the initial hype train to be bought into with the hobby allocated product because let's face it, when a product is released, people want to be on top of it, and there's no retail there now. I mean, hell, I was just talking about update. The megas aren't even out. They're supposed to be out, I think, Wednesday, and the product's already been released for a while. So, I think they're figuring out not how to get product into consumers' hands necessarily. They're figuring out how can we maximize our profits while still printing a boatload of this stuff. But I don't know that cutting breakers is going to be the solution because back to your point of stuff sitting on the shelf, I think the releases are coming so quickly that the products aren't being able to go through as much. And so maybe they need to, I don't know if they could space the releases or cut some more products out. I don't know what they would cut out, but I don't think it goes back to the Upper Deck EX and hockey. I don't think we're getting a lot of it opened. Maybe that's a solution. Maybe they take Beckett or one of these, companies and works a deal out for an EPAC thing and grade it through an EPAC like format. I don't know, but I
I'm
think they
secretly
need
hoping
more
it all
breakers.
goes through the authority. That's all I want. I just want it to go through the authority. Let's go. Crossing my
Hey.
fingers. Let's go through the authority. Hobby Champ says, realistically, Chrome is definitely not Prism. Prism doesn't have the proper base paper counterpart that functionally dilutes the market, which I get it. I just posed the question. My question ultimately was, there are levers that you can use to make something. You can go direct to consumer, and even in that fantasy world that you got rid of, something like Dedham, Peabody, Worcestershire, fake places. If you were one of those places, you could still pull some levers and still be able to make it. You can make something feel like it's sold out. Take advantage of FOMO and create it for yourself, and basically play games with the different stuff. And then you got these other products. Oh yeah, you're printing plenty of that product. Oh, it's more affordable. Yeah, because you diluted the hell out of it, and it's all over the place. But in reality, you're opening most of this and just getting base paper, and that's not what a lot of people are chasing after. There are games you can play. Is all I'm getting at. When you're the manufacturer, you're the distributor. You can find ways to make it look like it's sold out, even if it didn't sell out.
Yeah.
So I don't think getting rid of breakers is going to solve your problem. Just throwing that out there.
No, I think we need more. Get the
Ooh,
product in the market.
Mas, look at that. All right, so I think that's it for that one. We covered a lot of ground. All right, so right at the tail end here. So Simon, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you chiming in and giving us, especially since you gave us the collectivist coverage we all needed back in the day, and now here we are, full circle. We come to the other side. Indeed. So you're more than welcome to hang out for a moment. I'm actually going to do the silly card of the week just because I want to have it, at the tail end of the episode, because it's always a fun segment that we've got, and I've got the images that everybody did. So I've got the results from last week, and then I'm going to do the community post where we'll have the new silly card of the week. So Eric, this is your moment. You were challenged. You said that we'd be able to get through this. So I'm going to show the cards, but if it's a 45-minute explanation review, then you've got no one to blame. I'm going to show the 3 cards. It's only 3 cards. So here we go. I'm going to give you the results first, and then we'll get into the 3 new cards. So here's what it was from last week's post. We had 55 votes. So it was actually a pretty good turnout. So thank you to everybody who participated. Check it out. So there it is. I don't think people understood the
Bum
Igor thing.
for the win.
Bum for the win. It was a dominant victory. 71% is strong. That was strong. Got to admit it. Call a spade a spade. It was a very strong performance. So that was the selection from last week. We count all the votes, the only true democracy in this world. Now, here are this week's options. We're going to give you 3. We'll let you pick. And Eric, just because you claim it, this is your opportunity. We're going to let you go first. So I'm going to show this. Hang on. So again, all 3 of these options will be available in the community post. All right, Eric, impress us.
Card.
I feel like I'm going to make it really, really small and just go hashtag card, and we'll see if people can figure it out, Brandon. All right. That's what you want to go with. You want to explain this one too?
Second card.
Choices were made, Simon. You know this card. Choices were made.
That's an unfortunate attempt at a mustache.
It's an unfortunate attempt at everything. It's Pro Set, which is an unfortunate attempt. This image is an unfortunate attempt. That haircut is an unfortunate attempt. And that, we'll call it a mustache for the sake of this conversation, is all an unfortunate attempt.
Unbelievable.
Speaking of haircuts, what do you got, Brandon?
So you have to, I mean, it's silly card of the week. And I think it's self-explanatory. Just, even if you ignore the hair, just look at the face.
How can you ignore the hair?
This was
I
the
would say
face
that's-
of the hobby when it was announced that collectors bought Beckett. Like, this was the face of the hobby. And let's also just give some representation here. Yes, this is a baseball card for a minor league team, the Lexington Legends, but this is the Bat Boy.
I think somebody
What?
stole attention. Attention was stolen. Yeah, well, it says BB,
That
so
is
that
the
jives with
Boy's
Bat Boy.
card.
Wow.
Dang, son. Dang.
I think this guy
It's pretty
gets my
strong.
vote. Darren
Pretty
Jones.
strong. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty strong. All right. So real quick, I'll read a couple of comments and then we'll wind her down. Top score was more optic. Eric's stolen card finished second. Yeah, I know. I'm never voting for Eric's card again. There you go. Cards? That's right. It's Favre. The tie under the jersey too? Yes. It's all the pieces. It's
Yeah.
all the components. There's layers to this. Layers to this. I just want a gosh darn leader of cola. Yes. Epic hair. Yes. Brandon is winning again. It's strong. It's strong. Yeah. Favre, 100%. There you go. All right, fair enough. I'll put all 3 in a community post. You can select any of them that you want. All votes are counted. You decide for yourself what you want to go with. So they all count. You figure it out and you let us know. All right. Last thoughts or comments. So we've covered a lot of this. The reality is we got the announcement. We're going to see what happens of it. We kind of alluded to it. It'll probably be I look forward to when Beckett becomes boutique. Beckett boutique, Eric takes over. He'll have a little counter. Eric will be there. He'll have a red stapler, if you know that reference, and then they put him into the little closet.
Someone stole my red stapler, and I would like my red stapler back, please.
That's actually a really good impression.
I would say that's really good.
That's disturbingly good, actually. Eric, how long have you been working on that? How many times have you watched Office Space?
I don't know what you're referencing. I have never seen the movie Office Space. I just looking for my red stapler, please. I had it on my desk and then somebody stole my red stapler. I'd like to have it back, please.
On that disturbing bombshell. Thank you all for joining us. Here you go, Jay. That was absolutely great. That was strong. We may have discovered Eric's other talent other than sucking. These are the 2 things that he does very well. So at least you got a second one, so that's good. Hey, your talents now exceed the number of SGC podcast episodes. 2. Hey, full circle. We brought it home. All right, links in the description to all the things we talked about. Simon, we had to finish strong. There. Links in the description to all the things we talked about, including wonderful real-world test on the coaster maker's attempts at grading. The people need to know. 150,000 have seen it, but apparently not enough of you. If you're even asking the question, then I guess we need to keep showing you. I'm the meme. How many times do I have to show you this, old man? Got to keep doing it, apparently. Have a good one. All right, folks. Episode 158 in the books. All the links will be in the description. We thank AMG for participating as always. I'll include links in the description to it as well. We didn't get to do the little bit, but the podcast episode will drop on Wednesday nonetheless. Obviously, this is a live episode, so you're not going to get a podcast episode on Tuesday, but you will get an episode next week as normal schedule. And next week, we'll begin the holiday extravaganza. There will be the Christmas Eve episode, and there will be the New Year's Eve episode because tradition. That'll be the 5th year for both. The BIC Christmas special and the BIC New Year's Eve special. Forthcoming soon. There you go. There's your holiday. Have yourselves a good one, everybody. Take it easy. We'll catch you in the next one. Until collectors buy something else, which could be any minute now. We'll see.
I want them to buy something on Christmas Day.
That'd be
I
amazing.
don't know what, but just something.
Anything. Just really good. Something really good.
Cards HQ for the content gods.
Oh, wow.
That would be massive.
Yeah. There's layers to that. That would be another special on itself. All right, folks, have yourself a good one. Take it easy.